Good evening. This is the Lion of Legend, and welcome back to The Kid at the Back. There is an update released just the other day, so, of course, I figured we'd have to hop back in and, see what's new. Oh, so none of my load points are here. Am I gonna start from the beginning? Oh boy. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. Day 1, the Beloved. And class dismissed. By our next meeting, I need a full report on everyone's poem that they have chosen. I will not accept one paragraph. I need 2 whole pages filled with words. Everyone got that? The classroom broke into a series of, "Yes, Professor," while some spared no time in packing their things, eager to be dismissed and disregarding the teacher altogether. Your literature teacher packs up her own things and exits the classroom. The moment your literature teacher left, the classroom broke into small groups as each student gathered up to meet with their respective cliques. Some engaged in conversation, while some spared no time in exiting the classroom. A yawn escaped your lips. You turned your head and observed the clouds outside. The clouds are shaded in dark gray. The sky's once blue color is now turning the same lighter shade of gray. The looming threat of rain made you click your tongue in irritation. Just my luck. I didn't bother to bring an umbrella, too. Standing up from your seat, you were about to grab your bag when you felt a tap on your shoulder. Turning around, you came face to face with cobalt blue eyes, her blonde hair shaped like swirls with its ends dyed in blue and pink, complementing her entire ensemble, even if it's just a white button-up shirt that clearly looks too small for her. Hot pink jacket tied around her waist and the school's black skirt. Her hand, which you assumed was the same one that tapped your shoulder, hung up in the air. She seemed unsure whether to continue or not, judging from the way her eyebrows furrowed downward while biting her glossed lower lip. She turned slightly, her head not fixed on you, but rather on whoever is behind her. You hear her whisper something under her breath before eventually composing herself and turning her focus solely on you now. "Hey, you're going to lunch with us, right?" "I mean, you should. I don't usually see you in the cafeteria often, so you must not be eating properly." "How can you keep up with classes looking like that?" "Excuse me?" You took a step back, clenching the strap of your bag as you glare at the blonde woman before you. Who was this woman? Who does she think she is? Wait, so in the other entries of this game, we know this character. So are we like in a prequel right now? Judging from the woman's expression, she finally came to realize the words that came out of her mouth. Brittany? A familiar voice interrupted the two of you. You turned your head to where the voice was, and there stood none other than your old friend. That's really insensitive of you. Imagine if someone else told you about how you look. His familiar orbs are of azure blue, nearly replicating lapis lazuli, and his chocolate brown hair tied loosely in a low braid. Sun-kissed skin enhanced his handsome features, adorned with a black, long-sleeved button-up and an indigo vest to add to his clean look. He is known as Jericho Ichabod. Crowe, for short, the class representative and a close friend of yours. Well, the only close friend you have. Crowe made his way to your side. With a hand on his hip, he reprimands the blonde-haired woman next to you, and the said woman just shrugged her shoulders. You placed a hand over your beating heart. The close proximity between you two caused a blush to appear on your cheeks. No matter how many times you get close to him, or him getting near you, you'll never get used to it. His whole aura just gives a warm feeling in you, the butterflies in your stomach thrashing and raging, begging to be released. Yeah, you may have a bit of a crush on him. The woman named Brittany just rolled her eyes, seemingly used to Crowe's reprimands. Well, you're the one who insisted on me initiating talk. You could have done it more nicely, you know. Like a simple invite alone. Crowe gives you a small smile while handing out something to you. You look down to see it. It was your ID. You dropped this, by the way. Your name is Lion. Your last name is of Legend. The ID shows my name, Lion of Legend, along with my pronouns. He, him, his. You stare at your own ID picture and see yourself more masculine. You use masculine terms and will be called a boy/man. You looked at your ID picture, seeing a young man and reading your name with your eyes. Name, Lion of Legend. Pronouns, he, him. Yes. Your fingers briefly brushed against his. You bit your lip, then muttered a small thank you before pocketing your school ID. Crowe gives you a close-eyed smile, returning with his own thank you, then turns his attention back towards Brittany. Following up behind Brittany are three more people. The tallest of the three is a sporty-looking man, clad in a green and yellow jersey with the number 10 settled in front. His eyes are a bright green, the color that kind of reminds you of green apples. His skin is a beautiful brown that nearly matches his curly hair, while a stubble is nestled on his chin, indicating his maturity. The second tallest is a man in a purple hoodie. His eyes are sharp and slanted with long lashes, adorned with teal-colored orbs underneath. His hair straight and styled into a hime cut, save for a short strand tied with a red ribbon, and a low ponytail bound with the same shade of red behind him. He looks uninterested with what is going around at the very moment. And the last, but not the least, is the shortest of the three, maybe within the group as well. Her skin pale, her face dotted with few freckles then and there as rectangular-shaped frames shield away orange orbs. Her hair is short and loose like waves. She wears a black button-up under an orange vest and a black shirt matching Brittany's. Damn, Britt. You sure are bad at socializing. Hey, Gio. Seems like you have competition. The tall jock clad in a yellow and green sports jersey lets out a loud laugh, causing some students to turn to look at him. Brittany's face grew red from embarrassment. Gritting her teeth, she crossed her arms while tapping her foot on the ground. This only made the jock laugh even harder. Shut the fuck up, Daryl. You're causing a scene. Also, if you were me, you would have done just as badly. That is, in fact, not true. I'm a lovable guy. Oh yeah? As the two argue, you turn your head towards the other tall male in a hoodie. Sensing your gaze, he looks down at you, his hand still in his hoodie's pocket. A sudden chill went down your spine. You quickly averted your gaze away from the imposing male and landing on the meek girl in orange right beside Brittany. She hasn't spoken since she arrived at the two males, but judging from how attached she is to Brittany, you're guessing she's closer with her than the rest of the group. She kind of reminds you of yourself when you were still new to the school with no one to talk to. Not until Crowe befriended you, of course. Were you as clingy to Crowe back then as she is with Brittany now? Sorry, they're kind of a rowdy bunch, huh? I hope you're not too overwhelmed. They sure are something. Look, Lion, you're still free not to join us for lunch if you're uncomfortable. Meeting new people is overwhelming. I just want you to know that I respect your feelings and that you matter, Lion. Crowe reassures you with a worried smile on his lips. You turn back to the group, the tall jock named Daryl now bothering Gio with an arm around his shoulder. The visible irritation on Gio's face did nothing to sway Daryl's happy-go-lucky personality. Brittany leans on one of the desks with her arms crossed, striking a conversation with the bespectacled girl next to her. What's her name? I didn't seem to catch it last time. Crowe glanced at where you were pointing at. Ah, Jessie? You can call her Jess for short. She's best friends with Brittany. She kind of reminds me of you back when we first met. All shy and quiet. Only that you're cuter. Crowe pinches your cheek playfully, and you groan, but your mock annoyance is betrayed by the small smile that formed on your lips. How the time flies, huh? That's right. You got yourself acquainted with Crowe in your sophomore year. Before you left for the city, your father emphasized the importance of having companions and establishing friendships, most especially in this college. Olympias University, the largest university in Titan City. It is known for having the best facilities and the best education, where you're guaranteed to rise from the bottom to the top. Well, that's what the advertisement tells you. You tried getting to know people during your first year, but to no avail. No matter how much you tried to make friends, you just couldn't seem to bring yourself to talk to anyone, and to your dismay, no one seems to bother to even befriend you. Sure, you would talk with a few classmates for projects, but nothing goes beyond that. As if they're scared of you. Or more like, disgusted. You can never tell. The looks you've received have all been mixed signals, some bad, some out of pity. That is, until Crowe came into the picture. Among everyone, Crowe was the sole person who approached you with the intention of friendship. You were wary of him at first. Why would someone want to befriend you out of nowhere? Your past experiences caused you suspicion. You've had a history with people who tried to earn your good graces because you were somehow beneficial to them. You thought Crowe would be the same case, so you ignored him. But then he kept following you, trying to strike a conversation with you every now and then. You tried to dismiss him, ignoring his presence as usual, but Crowe was determined to break down your walls and kept insisting on tagging along until it annoyed you once. Just once. That is, until it happened on the last day of your first semester in your sophomore year. You fell victim to one of the school's biggest hidden flaws. If Crowe wasn't there to stop them, you could not begin to imagine what might have happened to you. Thank goodness you're unharmed. You're concerned about me. How about you? You're the one who's hurt. Thinking back, you thought he was crazy and stupid, taking blow after blow until the perpetrators got bored and left the both of you. Well, that's the whole point, right? As long as you're not hurt, this is nothing. You're crazy. You know that? And he just laughs it off, wincing due to the bruises on his face. I never got your name, crazy person. It's Jericho. Jericho Ichabod. But just call me Crowe. Nice to meet you, Crowe. I'm Lion. You brought him to the clinic that day, and became inseparable ever since. Right after that incident, Crowe promised to never get in fights again, and continues to keep his word on it. You really owe it to him. You look back up at Crowe. He tilts his head. Something on your mind, Lion? Nothing. Just happy that you're my friend. He looked at you with raised eyebrows, probably surprised at how random your thoughts seem. He didn't say anything as he let your words sink in, and his usual gentle smile appeared on his face. Crowe inched closer to you, indicating that he feels the same way. Brittany must have taken notice of the amount of time wasted in talking and arguing as she turns to you one last time. We've talked a little bit too much. We'll end up not getting any seats if we keep this up. So, are you coming with us or not? Caught up in your little daydream about the past, Brittany finally spoke up, catching your attention. You looked back at Crowe, recalling his words. Don't force yourself to join if you're still uncomfortable. You then decided to... Let's, go to the library. I'll head to the library today. With a hand on her hip, Brittany stares at you, as if waiting for you to change your mind. Seeing that your decision is set, she loosens a sigh. Brittany wordlessly turns on her heel and walks out of the classroom, the rest of her friends following behind her. I just noticed this heart. What is this? Oh. Right. This is a new thing. Oh boy. Crowe, however, stayed in his exact same spot right next to you. Noticing this, Geo, the one in the hoodie, stops. Crowe? Huh? Oh, be right there. Crowe paused shortly to sneak a look at you before walking towards Geo, his movements slow and hesitant to leave your side. Although Crowe did not give you a farewell glance before reaching his friend, it was Geo who glared at you over his shoulder. His gaze was intimidating and intense. It reminded you of the way predators look at their prey. You felt your heart stop beating for a moment. Confused by his apparent stillness, Crowe was about to question his blue-haired companion, but Geo waved his hand dismissively. Before Crowe could notice anything, Geo breaks his gaze away from yours and ushers his friend out of the classroom. You let out the breath you didn't know you were holding. What was that about? He gave me nothing but short glances and glares since I've met him. Maybe I'm not suited to be part of their group. You shake away the negative thoughts attempting to plague your mind. Returning to your original plan, you packed up your things and proceeded to head out. Next stop, the library. The rowdy hallway buzzed with noise as sweaty and tired students made their way to their respective classes, some presumably headed to the cafeteria for a break. Several were headed to the same direction you were walking. With the library door within your reach, a smile etched on your face. You opened the doors, immediately greeted by the familiar scent of coffee and library books. You've always been awed by your university's fancy facilities. In fact, the library surprisingly operates as a small cafe, serving coffee to the students who need it early in the morning until the afternoon. It is a huge hit amongst everyone, and you understand why. Caffeine is the fuel to a college student's weary soul. The aroma of coffee somehow lightens your mood. Anticipating a short moment of peace within the library, you made your way towards your usual seat by the large window near the cafe section. Your mood dropped when you spotted an unfamiliar face occupying the chair you've come to favor. You groaned. Just great. What should I do about this? So, is Soul going to show up now? We'll take the seat beside him. You don't feel like talking to him or causing trouble on your end. With a sigh, you give up the thought of getting your seat back as you drag the spare chair and place it beside his. He looks at you from the corner of his eye. You thought he would say something, but he didn't seem to mind since he brought his attention back to the book he was reading. You continued with your report, occasionally tapping your pen on the paper with furrowed brows. You were thinking too hard for this stupid task, but your brain came up empty for words. You feel him glance at you from time to time, but you paid no mind to him now that your report took priority. Time passed, and eventually lunch break was nearing its end. You groaned. Half of your paper is still empty. You weren't able to get much work done. All you did was probably go over the poem over and over multiple times in hopes that a sudden will to write will hit you. And sadly, it did not. You hear the guy beside you standing up from his seat. You nearly forgot about his presence and heads out of the library, leaving you alone at the table. You take a glance at the wall clock, cursing at the time. Seeing that there's no point in wasting more time here, you made your way out of the library as well. Once you reached the hallway, the stranger from the library was already gone, but what surprised you was Crowe's presence, followed by the same group of friends you saw this morning. Only that Brittany's uniform is covered with what seems to be a mix of ketchup, mustard, and a variety of oils, while Jess tries her best to wipe them off of her. What the fuck happened in the cafeteria? Lion, I was about to check up on you. How are you feeling? Doing fine. Just mad I didn't get much work done on my paper. You can always come to me for some help, Lion. You give Crowe a smile, thankful for his will to help before turning to Brittany. The said girl notices your gaze on her and just lets out a huff. She seems embarrassed. I'm doing fine, although... You turn your gaze to the blonde behind him. Crowe follows your line of sight and scratches his cheek. A drop of sweat rolls down his neck. Sensing your curiosity, he turns to Brittany. The blonde woman just waves him off, refusing to meet his eyes. Taking that as a sign to proceed, Crowe explains. Things went a bit hectic in the cafeteria. A food fight broke out. And it was the best food fight ever. You should have seen the face of that red-headed bitch when you slammed ketchup on her uniform. Daryl jumped in the conversation, startling you and Crowe at his sudden appearance. An annoyed expression made its way onto Crowe's face. You nearly got all of us in trouble, Daryl. I'm just glad we got ourselves out of there before things got worse. Yeah. Our knight in shining armor, Mr. Ichabod, always to the rescue. Really making use of your title as a school rep, huh? Daryl gives Crowe a little nudge. The said man just rolled his eyes. But you've got to admit the look on Pinkie Pie was fucking hilarious. Right, Britt? You and Daryl turned to Brittany, some of the sauces on her uniform gone, leaving nothing but a stain on it. A small smirk formed on her lips as she recalled the earlier events. Well, I can't deny that it felt good having to fight back. Daryl gives a toothy smile at the blonde woman, which she returns with her own snarky smile. Crowe only rolls his eyes, shaking his head at the two troublemakers. Contrary to his visible disagreement, you couldn't help but notice the small smile on his face, as if he's proud of them despite the trouble they caused. As you observe them, you notice something amiss. Or rather, someone amiss. Jess seemed to catch on to your confusion at their lack of numbers and stepped up to explain. If you're looking for Gio, he said he was going somewhere else. I'm not quite sure where, though. I see. Not that I was actively trying to look for the guy. He actually scares me. You recall the look he gave you right before you left for the library. Just remembering it sends a shiver down your spine. You considered tugging on Crowe's sleeve, wanting to seek for answers about his other friend. But seeing how he's going along with the group with a genuine smile on his face, you bit your lower lip. You couldn't bear to ruin the mood. I should head to my next class. Not sparing them any more of your time, you swiftly turned on your heel and rushed out of the scene. He's quite a runner, isn't he? Daryl picks up beside Crowe's solemn face while the two stare at your departing form. Crowe sighs and looks down on the floor. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. The taller jock says nothing, but gives his friend a look of pity. Rubbing Crowe's back, he tries to think of something, anything, to reassure the man next to him. Daryl's eyes suddenly lit up, a smile appearing on his lips. Taking advantage of Crowe's vulnerability, he swiftly snatched his friend's phone from his pocket, the latter not even batting an eye at his phone that was taken. Instead, he questions him. The jock simply messes with his phone, his tongue sticking out from the corner of his lips. What are you doing? Trying to fix your love life. You're welcome, by the way. What are you even talking about? Crowe's eyes grew wide at the block of text Daryl showed him. Give that back. Daryl simply laughs at Crowe's failed attempts in getting his phone back. Daryl waves Crowe's blue mobile phone in the air. You've got no choice, Crowe. I've already sent the message. Daryl, you sneaky bastard. You'll call me your favorite wingman after this. The jock winks. A few feet away from the men, Brittany and Jess simply observe the two males. They turned to each other and shrugged, wondering what Daryl could have done to get Crowe flustered like that. Barely making it to your next class, you slid the classroom door open, earning you a few looks from the students inside the room. Turning to the podium, you exhaled a breath you didn't realize you were holding when you realized that your teacher was still absent. Fixing your composure, you scanned the room. A few easels and shelves filled with brushes and bottles stained with acrylic paint guaranteed that you made it to the right class. You make your way to your seat. Once settled down, you groaned, placing your elbows on the desk and resting your chin on top of your hands, waiting patiently for your professor's arrival. Though you couldn't help but notice the feeling of someone staring at you. You shook it off, thinking that it must have been the lack of sleep. You look out of the window. Or maybe it's the cold weather. Hearing the classroom door open, your art professor makes his way inside, his large round belly standing out, round spectacles sitting on top of his nose, and a stereotypical brown beret on his head. He greets the class before starting his lecture. Art exhibit project featuring various eras of art as part of our thesis. This time we're tasked with expressionism. Remember, this is all part of your paper, and not to mention, making a name for yourself, of course. More like taking the credit of a student's work and using it to advertise your shitty school. You scoffed at the thought. Hope you all got a partner already by this time. For this term, I'm tasking you all to create 3 works based on the exhibit's theme. This is where you want to throw your desk out the window. How could you forget? You weren't present during the previous meeting, and you absolutely knew no one in this specific class. Why were you taking art again? Oh, right. Your father was an artist, as he was a farmer. It was all for him, and maybe you could make a name for yourself with your works, if ever your life as a gardener wouldn't turn out the way it should. All part of Plan B, and if that fails, I've got Plan C and D. I have yet to make up the rest. Or guess I'll die. You shake away your silly thoughts. The problem is now at hand. You do not have a partner to work with. Now, I want all of you to go to your chosen partner for this project, so I can start explaining your tasks. Eventually, you were forced out of your seat, since your seatmate's partner will be occupying it for the class. You curse at yourself. You could only hope you're not the only student who didn't get their own partner for this class. But upon looking around, it seems like everyone is calm and collected. Were you the only one panicking here? Unlike the rest of the class scurrying around to meet their partner, you are the only fool who is standing still. Note on the only one standing, because from the corner of the classroom, there's a single student not bothering to stand up from their seat. Their seatmate had left to pair with someone else, leaving a vacant spot. Is he not going to bother with his partner? Unless... Hey there. He looks up from his desk and looks at your approaching form before you're eventually standing next to him. It's you. Seems like you're a bit lost there. Do you have a partner? No. Well, just your luck then. Me neither. So, do you want to be partners? Sure, why not? You took the vacant seat right beside him, his book now tucked away, and on his desk is now a pen and a piece of paper, seemingly ready to take notes. Hey, I never got to know your name. It's not quite important. Well, I should at least know what to call you instead of Green Street Guy. He raised a brow at your silly nickname you gave him, before slightly shaking his head. Sullivan Brugmansia. But just call me Soul. Soul? Soul means sun or brightness, right? Soul nods, rubbing the back of his head. You can say that. My mother gave me that name. It's a lovely name. Thanks. Well, I'm TheLionofLegend. Nice to finally know your name, Soul. Soul nods with a smile forming on his lips, then returning his attention back to the professor. 3 artworks to showcase. Note, it has to be some form of expressionism. Mediums will be strictly traditional. Your professor then proceeds to give other pointers for your project before leaving you and the rest of the class for the day. Everyone in the classroom proceeds to talk with their partners, already brainstorming ideas on what they're going to showcase, and hopefully could get a high grade. You turned to Soul as he took out his own charcoal pencil and his sketchpad for the class. You got any plans for our first display, Soul? Expressionism is about conveying one's feelings, right? The easiest for now is a portrait. Let's use your face as an example. My face? He lets out a low chuckle. There, you're making a cute expression right now. That can be considered as expressionism. Huh? He seems like he already has an idea on what to do. And judging from that half-filled sketchbook of his, he's quite familiar with the concept of art. Me, however, I'm not that good at art. Everyone starts somewhere. Would you like me to draw you first, then? If it's not too much trouble. Just great, Lion. First time partnering up with this new guy and you're already letting him do the work. I'm no better than those past classmates of mine who would push their workload on somebody else. Not at all. Well, we'll let it slide this one time. With that, Soul takes out his own sketchbook and pencil, sitting upright and facing you. You straightened up your back, sitting properly, as if you're about to take an ID picture. Is this okay? Relax your shoulders. Feel at home. Expressionism is about expressing yourself. Just pose whatever you like. Oh, okay. Your breathing stopped. You can feel Soul's hand brush along your forehead to your ear, tucking away a stray hair that was covering your face. You could almost smell his mint in his breath. You were sure you were bright as a cherry by now. Soul leaned back and didn't say anything as he began sketching, his eyes hopping from the paper to your face, and you swear every time you meet his gaze, your heartbeat quickens. You averted your gaze, distracting yourself from his focus as you tried to calm your beating heart. The class eventually came to an end as your professor was giving one last reminder to your class before dismissing everyone. One by one, everyone packed their things and left the classroom, while some stayed, discussing more about the exhibit. Sadly, Soul isn't done with your portrait, which you were dying to see, but he said he's going to keep it a secret until he finishes it. You better not make me look funny. What makes you think of that? It's not like I gave you a mustache or anything. What? Let me see. I'm kidding. He didn't know what came to him when he raised his hand to try and cup your cheek. He stopped midway, however, and tucked it in his pocket. You're so pretty. Did you say something, Soul? Nothing. Do you have a phone? We should exchange numbers and update each other so we can do the next 2 more tasks. Soul then takes out his own phone and asks for your number. You recite it out as he inputted it on his phone. Let me try to send you a message. You nodded and looked at your phone screen and saw a new notification from an unknown number. This must be Soul's. Sup. You type so differently from how you look. From the corner of your eye, you see Soul's eyebrow raised at your text. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. You chuckled. He rolled his eyes. Your stare lingers on Soul's face. A smile is embedded on his handsome features while he looks at the block of text on his phone. You bite the bottom of your lip as you recall the events that happened today, mostly meeting new people, first formally meeting Crowe's group and now meeting Soul. Back then, you struggled to form friends throughout college. You were convinced you would be graduating without making a single connection, which would undoubtedly disappoint your father, and you were ready for it. You thought to yourself, these are odd people, eccentrics at most. All misunderstood people, all human, all the same. A sudden wave of determination washed over you. With a hand on your chest, you stare into Soul's orbs, making him tilt his head slightly. Soul, I want to be friends with you. I can sense that people tend to misunderstand you and your overall personality. Soul is quiet, but his gaze remains on you with a lingering curiosity. But let me be different. I want to know you. I want to understand you, Soul. If you let me. He blinked once, then twice, then a chuckle. He puts a large hand on top of your head, then ruffles your hair. All right then, let's mark today as the start of our wonderful friendship, Lion of Legend. You playfully pushed his hand off of your head and nudged him on the shoulder. He lets out a small laugh at your poor attempt. As to you two, Sullivan Brugmancia. Just Soul is fine, Lion. Well, I need to get going. See you tomorrow? Huh? Oh, of course. See you tomorrow, Lion. Giving Soul a wave of goodbye, you make your way towards the school's exit. My darling. My sweet, darling Lion. See you later, Pumpkin. As you walk through the hallway, your eyes caught on something on the nearby bulletin board. A poster was plastered on the large board. The Hallows Ball. Come enjoy the festive spirits of Hallows Eve. A Halloween party, huh? Seems promising. A sudden small vibration came from your pocket. Curious, you took out your phone, expecting another message from Soul. It was from Crowe. Your heart leaped from your chest, recalling the events that happened earlier this afternoon. Can you meet me after class? I'll be at the front gate. I missed that line of dialogue. Oh, we didn't send a reply. Turning off your phone, you quickly made haste to the exit. You approached the school's gate, keeping an eye out for your friend. Sure enough, there stood Crowe in all his glory, posture straight with his arms held behind his back, his bag neatly placed on the floor, and his foot tapping on the concrete floor nervously. You yourself were growing nervous with each step you took as you drew closer and closer to him. When you reached the side and made your presence known with a small greeting, you noticed the way Crowe's eyebrows raised in mild surprise, as if not expecting you to actually show up before him. He cleared his throat before composing himself properly, his body now facing in your direction. You wanted to see me? Yes, Lifting his bag from the floor, he slings a strap over his shoulder and offers his hand for you to take. I'd like to take you somewhere. It's a bit near the park. I'll lead if you let me. Well then, I suppose we'll take his hand. You took his hand. In return, Crowe wraps his fingers around yours. His nervous smile melts into a genuine and happier one before he leads the both of you away from the school's gate and to the streets. By the time you and Crowe made it to the park, it was already sundown, and stars slowly started painting the sky. Is this the place you were trying to lead me to, Crowe? Not quite yet. Come here. You follow him through a thicket of thick bushes, surprised to see stony stairs. Though a bit run down, it still seemed sturdy to step foot on. Looking up, you see it leads somewhere above. You and Crowe make your way up the stony stairs, some red and orange leaves coloring the steps as you and him avoid a few puddles from the rain this morning. We're here. Come, it's a sight to behold. Taking one last step, you see Crowe admiring whatever was beyond him, his smile bright as his eyes twinkle like the stars above. You went wide in awe upon seeing the scenery before you, replicating the one Crowe has on his face. Not once did you take into consideration the idea of sightseeing within the city. Everything felt unfamiliar, intimidating even. You couldn't blame yourself for feeling so distressed about the idea of traveling, especially since you had no one else within the city to guide you. But gazing at the sea of lights that stretched out before you made you realize that you have been missing much of what the city has to offer. Looking farther ahead, you take notice of a tall tower decorated with bright neon pink lights. A little bit to its right is a movie theater next to a mall. The rows of other buildings with multicolored lights seemed endless. The more you scan the area, the more you see unfamiliar places that you didn't know existed. Your moment of silence while admiring the city view was interrupted by the sound of rustling grass. You turn around, finding the source of the sound. Crowe has made himself comfortable, lying on the ground under an old tree. You see his backpack leaning on its trunk. You turn your back from the city and walk to where Crowe lay, deciding to keep him company. His gaze on the starry sky shifts to you as you sit down beside him, and a hopeful smile grows on his face. Judging from your face all lighting up, you like this place, huh? Care to join me? Accepting his invitation, you give Crowe a slight nod that brought joy to his eyes. You stretch a bit and lay on your back right next to him, your fingers barely touching. You and Crowe look at the night sky. You observe how the stars twinkle, as if the rain from this morning never happened. How did you manage to find this place? You tilt your head to look at him, and he gives you a closed-eyed chuckle before his twinkling gaze meets yours. I take it that you've never heard of Lily's myth, have you, Lion? Lily's myth? Crowe points up at the old tree that stood above you, then returns his gaze to the stars. They say that this tree that the humans came in contact with was blessed by the gods that guard this land. This very same tree here used to bear multiple fruits. They say that they never rot and are free for anyone to take. Or so what the popular interpretation says anyway. There are other versions of the myth. Crowe shrugs his shoulders, moving his gaze from the sky back to the tree. He stares at it, as if trying to decipher something just by the mere look of it. There are other versions, yes. Some say the fruits are actually poisonous. Others say it's only meant for the gods, and no humans must take from it, lest they be cursed. That sounds quite gruesome. It's no wonder they would rather use the lighter version of the myth. Crowe lets out a low chuckle at your statement, nodding a bit, as if agreeing with you. I guess that might be one of the reasons. Hey, Lion. He pauses before speaking again. You perk an eyebrow at him. Yeah? This seems like a silly question. No, lay it on me. Tell me what it is. Do you believe in gods? This question caught you by surprise. You never thought of Crowe as the religious type, more so be interested in gods. Or maybe he's just curious by the idea of them. This may be the best moment to know for sure. Oh boy. Alright, so... Oh, I'm accumulating points already, I didn't even notice. So we're balanced. Look, I don't know who's watching this video. I'm not sure if we're Team Crowe or Team Soul, but we're gonna do what we can do, okay? We're gonna say we don't. I don't think Crowe doesn't come off to me as a believer. Okay, let's see what happened. Oh boy, Team Crowe is in the lead. You don't? No, I don't. I believe in one's hard work. Does that count? Crowe merely chuckles at your statement, with a hand resting on his chest. He shakes his head slightly, as if he couldn't believe he just heard you say that. I don't mind the people who believe in them. I just don't like the way some of them worship the very ground these so-called gods walked on. You scoffed. I believe that everything is made possible through everyone's efforts, be it as a team or as an individual. Their believers only give credit to these deities for everything, and it's an insult to the forgotten people who sacrifice themselves to make things happen. You recalled the townsfolk who endlessly praised and worshipped your patron deity for the bountiful harvest you and your family broke sweat and tears for. You watched as the efforts of your labor were all thrown in some invisible being which, as far as you knew, returned nothing but calamities, one after the other. 'Twas only a miracle that you, your father, and the damn farmland are still standing and your crops still thriving, even after so much damage. Crowe notices the way your brows furrow. He says nothing, but the look in his eyes tells you that he shares your sentiments wholeheartedly. This is why we're two peas in the same pod. How about you? Do you believe in gods? You turn to Crowe, repeating the same question he asked you earlier. He scans your face, your eyes, your nose, then your lips. His lingering gaze made you shrink back, your heart fluttering slightly. Crowe seems to realize something to himself as he returns his attention to the stars above, sighing. I don't. This surprises you, and Crowe laughs at your visible shock and confusion. What? You didn't think I'd be a non-believer? If I have to be honest, no. Why so? You kind of dress like a priest. Crowe's azure eyes grew wide as he broke out into one of the loudest laughs you've ever heard from him. He laughed so hard that he had to clench his stomach and wipe at the tear-stained corners of his eyes. He was still chuckling when he unbuttons the first two studs of his black polo, revealing more of his collarbone to you. You quickly avert your eyes, finding the tree's leaves to be very interesting at this moment, as you feel a familiar heat rush to your cheeks. How's that? Less formal? For fuck's sake, Ichabod. It feels like I'm seeing a Victorian woman's ankles for the first time. Crowe grins at your reaction. It took both of you a few more seconds of going back and forth with his teasing and you reprimanding him before you finally calmed down. The next few moments were spent with you pointing at the stars and Crowe teaching you the constellations with a gentle whisper-like voice. You both fell silent, basking in the peace of the night. As the silence prolonged, Crowe fell deep in thought. About today, Lion, and about the guys. So we're moving to this conversation next, huh? I've got to be honest. Daryl put me up in this little hangout while I was feeling down on the dumps. I think I do have to thank him for forcing me and actually giving me the courage to talk to you after class. He lets out a breath he didn't know he was holding, refusing to meet your eyes. I just don't know if I upsetted you by suddenly dragging you into this group. I probably should have told you about them a long time ago, huh? I'm sorry, Lion. You bit your lip. You suspected that you might have upset Crowe by making him think that you didn't like the group's presence at all, and that he's forcing you to bend to his will. One thing to know about Crowe is that he is never the type to demand, to control, to be a king, to be a tyrant. You didn't do anything wrong, Crowe. In fact, I should be the one to apologize. You speak up without thinking. Crowe turns his head to look at you, his gaze swirling with confusion at your apology. I'm sorry for making you feel bad. I didn't mean to be upset, You swallow a lump in your throat, trying your best to hold the tears that were threatening to spill. I just thought that you'd forget about me after. They're amazing people. Brittany's pretty, Daryl's a fun guy, Gio's so cool, and Jess is loyal. They're a great group. And most importantly, you're amazing, Crowe. You are all amazing, but not me. I'm just not sure if I could ever be part of the group. You were always hidden in the shadows. No matter how much you tried to fit in, you were never to be considered. People treated you like someone to toss away, someone to use. You are worth nothing but an extra. That's what she always tells you. You couldn't hold it back anymore. A sob escapes your lips, your vision slowly blurring as you feel wet droplets of tears finally sliding down your cheek from your eyes. For a moment, you saw panic in Crowe's expression, seemingly not expecting you to burst into tears. He reaches out to hold your hand. And suddenly, you feel a pair of arms circling around you as he pulls you closer to him, letting you sob on his shoulder. He says nothing while rubbing a hand along your back, allowing you to cry, not caring about his clothes getting wet from your tears. Once you calm down, Crowe rests his hand on your back, not letting you out of his embrace. You're amazing, Lion. I'm sorry. I never get to tell you that, no matter how many times I've thought of it. I just couldn't seem to find the words. But you're amazing in your own way, Lion. You may not know it, but you're beautiful. You're funny. You're quite a phenomena. You can feel vibrations coming from his chest from the chuckle he emits. Heck, you're the funniest person I know. All I'm saying, Lion, is that you're amazing. You have no idea how much tears you've shed tonight. Sometimes you think it's silly and childish to cry over what was probably a trivial matter to some, but the urge to sob returned after hearing those words from him. Do you want me to call you the Amazing Spider-Man, just to prove that you are amazing? That made you giggle a bit as you wipe your tear-stained cheeks. With whatever strength you could muster, you slowly pulled away and lifted yourself up. You sit yourself up, hovering over Crowe. And there, you see the very same man that made you cry by literally doing nothing. His braid came loose. You didn't know when, but his hair pulled around his head. Crowe stares up at you with serene eyes, remaining silent as a gentle smile plastered on his face. There was nothing but the moon illuminating his tender features, yet to your vision, he seems to glow. He is absolutely beautiful. Oh, how you wish you could blame everything on him. If you could, you tell him that he's the reason for all the unnecessary feelings swelling in your chest. You tell him exactly how good and bad it all feels. The heartaches and butterflies fluttering about your stomach. You want to blame him, but you can't. Holy moly, already? I mean, what? Okay, we'll go to 3. Okay. Is it too soon to kiss this? No, he's down. He's 100% down. Okay, what happened here? Is that a 14? Was that 14 before? Oh, Soul is pissed. Oh, shit. You have no idea where you got the guts to do the thing you did next, but the feeling of his lips pressed on yours made the butterflies rattle in your stomach, threatening to burst out of their cage. Your heart beats fast like you've just ran a marathon as you feel the heat rush to your cheeks. Crowe freezes against you for a moment there. You thought you just made a huge mistake. You are prepared to pull away and apologize, but he makes a move you did not expect. The gentle grip that Crowe had on the small of your back slithers its way to the back of your head, fingers intertwined with your hair as he presses you closer to him, returning your kiss with a fervent sense of desperation. His other hand holds your waist in a tight embrace, not wanting to let you go. Out of your own surprise, you break the kiss by pulling away slightly. Crowe chases after you, leaning in close to capture your lips in a deeper and more passionate manner than before. You feel like putty in his embrace as he cups your cheek with one hand, his lips needily asking for more access to yours. In response, you shut your eyes tight, and your arms come to wrap around his shoulders, granting his desire by tilting your head against his. The both of you losing all sense of the world as you fell deep into the sensation of your lips against each other. He eventually pulls away, a string of saliva connecting your lips to his own. His breaths are heavy, matching yours, and you beheld his red face and hair messier than before. He tucks away a stray strand of hair behind your ear before rubbing your cheek with his thumb. Crowe scans your disheveled figure above him. You can see the way his eyes dilute the longer he keeps his gaze on your face. I knew we were going stargazing tonight, but I didn't expect the brightest star to be just in front of me. You giggled at his cheesy pickup line. God, I like you, Lion. I liked you the first time I laid my eyes upon you. I couldn't tell you, because I was scared that I might lose whatever we have at the moment, that I would lose you. I couldn't bear to live a life without you. Crowe, I like you too. I've liked you ever since too. You chuckle at the silly thoughts you recall, the way you've been doubting your feelings, his feelings. His eyes grow wide, jaw falling slack as he tries to comprehend the words that came out of your lips. He blinks once, twice, before a smile as bright as the stars above appears on his face. Is this a dream? I hope not. If I'm in a dream, please tell the sleeping me to never wake up. I want to live in this dream forever. Will this convince you it's not a dream? You lean closer to his face and place a peck on his cheek. Maybe, but I think this would definitely convince me. He captures your lips swiftly, distracting you when he moves in to bury his face in the crook of your neck to nibble at the soft flesh. You gasp. Now people will know you're mine. Hey now. Crowe laughs out heartedly at your reaction, and you simply roll your eyes. You couldn't stay mad at him. He dusts off the grass that sticks to his shirt before giving you a once-over and gently swatting away the leaves on your hair and clothes. You get up, and Crowe retrieves his bag, almost forgotten, by the tree. He looks back at you and takes your hand silently. It was time to go. It was time to leave this magical place. You look at the stars, at how brightly they shone. You gave the sky one last glance before turning away, hand clasped tightly around Crowe's as you let him lead you home. Crowe walks you to your apartment, noting that he kept you out late at night. You bid Crowe goodbye after he safely sees you inside and he gives you a wave before turning on his heel and making his way down the stairs. You close your apartment door and lean on it, heaving a puff of air. You recall the conversation you had with Crowe while you walked with him on the street leading to your home. I'm going to give the guys a chance. I think I judged them too quickly. So I want to do better. I want to get to know them better. If you trust them, then I trust them too. Crowe's expression was of surprise at your declaration, as your determined face reflected in his orbs. Crowe chuckles at your enthusiasm, giving you a friendly pat on the head. I'm glad you're giving them a chance, Lion. I'm sure they will feel the same. You engaged in other conversations with Crowe during your walk, the topics not really being of any importance as you have forgotten them by now, save for his gentle voice and the occasional fond glances he stole at you. Time with Crowe seemed to pass by so quickly. You arrived at your apartment complex before you knew it. You make your way to the living room, and you throw your school bag to a random corner, immediately plopping down on your sofa as you turn on the small television. Nothing interesting is going on, save for some food commercials and movie trailers. That pizza looks good. Maybe I should order something. Reaching to your pockets and taking out your phone, you were about to dial the numbers on the television when a new notification bubble popped on your notification bar. It's from a group chat you've never seen before. After scrutinizing it, you realize that it was Crowe who added you in. It was a group chat with the rest of his friends. You open it. Anyone want to go to the Halloween party this Friday? It's gonna be awesome. Aren't we all a bit too old for costume parties? Is it required? You two are no fun at all. I won't go if it's not a school requirement. Much less a waste of my time. Is it? No, it isn't. But it'll be a great and fun experience for all of us. I mean, we should loosen up a bit, you know? I agree with Crowe. Count me in. Pass. I've got more important things to do than that party. Now, will you excuse me? I'll be doing my leftover tasks for the night. Geo has gone offline. Sheesh. A stick in the mud as usual. How about you, Lion? Me? You joining? It'll be fun. You were honestly surprised they somehow remembered you. Checking your calendar through your phone, you didn't seem to have any plans in the near future. Or plans at all. You'd like to just spend your time in your apartment alone. I mean, sure. That's great to hear. Crowe seems happy about it. You giggled. This also reminds you of something. Or rather, someone. Opening another chat, you tapped in Soul's newly added contact and sent him a message by sending the image of the same poster Daryl sent. A Halloween party hosted by the school? Yeah. I'm not quite into parties. Oh. Oh, well, that's all right. Just asking is all. Wait. If you're coming, then I'm coming as well. Really? Really. Do you plan on dressing up? I don't know. Do you? I mean, it's a costume party, so why not? I'll try to think of something then. You swear you can feel the smile behind those words. With a quick word of goodbye, you set your phone down when you heard your doorbell. That must be the food delivery. Afterwards, you ate your dinner and prepared yourself for bed. You thought about the events that happened today, meeting the group, meeting Soul, and most especially, your little hangout with Crowe. Each and every moment is a special occasion on its own. Letting out a big yawn as you stretched your body. You turn to your laundry slowly piling up and scratch your head. We'll probably do laundry tomorrow. But for now, you plopped yourself on the soft cushions of your bed, getting into a comfortable position and slowly dozing off as you closed your eyes, embracing sleep as the night goes. Did Soul not break in tonight? Very curious. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me, the one who loves. I was a child, she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea. Day 2, the kingdom. The following day, the first thing you do is look around for Crowe. However, when you try asking some students for his whereabouts, nobody seems to know where he went. You tried sending him a message to his phone, but you never received a single reply, much less having your messages be put on read. You eventually meet up with Brittany. She seems to be one of the few people closest to Crowe, so it was best to talk about him with her. Jericho? No, I haven't seen him. Do you know anyone else that might have an idea where he is? Brittany pondered for a bit with a manicured fingernail on her chin before shaking her head no. I've already asked the rest of the guys. Heck, even Gio doesn't know where he is, and that guy's close to the hip with him. But he said he's coming to school today. Don't tell me he ditched last minute. Bullshit. He would always send me or anyone in the group a text whenever something came up. Heck, knowing that guy, he'd most probably send you a text first. You deflated. Brittany gives you a worried look, trying to think of something else that could possibly help you. Maybe you should try checking the council's office. Taking her advice, you thank her and proceed to leave the classroom she was in. You did as Brittany suggested, but much to your dismay and frustration, not a single one in the council knows where Crowe is. Classes eventually start, but you didn't attend. Too determined to know where Crowe could have possibly been, you rack your brains as you walk all over the school grounds. You were probably too angry to realize you made it all the way to the gardens, the place where you usually work. You scratch your head from frustration. Taking out your phone, you decide to give his number a ring. It was dead silent. You decide to walk even deeper into the gardens. Until eventually, you meet with the familiar chain fence, indicating the school campus's borders barricading you from the forest just beyond it. You rang Crowe's number one last time. It rang a few more rings before cutting off. You checked your phone, thinking that he somehow finally picked up, but was met with a disappointing notification that it was out of service. You try one last time. There's faint ringing in the distance, but it's not within the gardens. It's coming from outside. Did he get himself lost? But how? As far as I know, this place is all boarded up. Putting your phone in your pockets, you look up and stare at the metal edges of the fence, shielding your eyes from the sunlight hitting your face. You bit your lip. You could climb up, but if you fall, you'd probably have a sprain if you're not careful enough. Without wasting any more time, you start climbing the chain fence, your fingers shaking from anxiety at the imposing height upon reaching the edge. Going over to the other side, you slowly make your way down, still keeping a tight hold on the fence. Whoa! Fuck! That is, until you somehow manage to slip on your footing, causing you to fall down, back first. A groan escapes your lips, your back now aching from the sudden impact of the fall, making you lie there and wait for the pain to subside a little. You pat down your pockets, reaching for your phone inside. You feel your heart drop to your stomach as you behold it. My phone! Fuck! Oh, I'm such a moron. You curse, seeing the visible crack on the screen of your mobile device. Turning it on, you vomit another string of colorful curses as your phone screen glitched heavily, before eventually turning dark. This shit is useless now. Shoving your broken phone back in your pocket, you slowly got up to your feet. You looked around. If Crowe was somewhere here, then you better start looking around. Hopefully you can try to remember your way back into the campus grounds. Your heartbeat accelerates as you walk deeper into the forest. You've never been here. It was uncharted territory, so you didn't know what dangers lurked. You scan the area around you, the thickets seemingly getting thicker and harder to maneuver. You see nothing out of the ordinary, save for some overgrown bushes and vines crawling on the dirt floor. If these don't get tended to, someone will surely trip. You were about to give up your search when you noticed something in the corner of your eye. The familiar shade of Crowe's indigo vest, torn to pieces. You feel your heart drop. The air suddenly feels suffocating. Your legs wobble their way to the torn piece, hoping that it was some sort of hallucination or some kind of sick coincidence. But no, this is exactly Crowe's vest. All torn and broken. You search around the area one last time, eyes keener than before, hoping that this might have been some kind of prank someone pulled on you. Till your eyes land on a strange and broken down shed. Clenching the torn fabric close to your chest, you hastily make your way to the shed. Thoughts of Crowe invade your mind as you ignore all the warnings waving through your face. The moment you came face to face with the shed, your nose picked up on something bad. The smell of iron. The smell of blood. You rattle the wooden door open. It won't budge. Fuck! Open up, motherfucker! You look around for something to pry the door open. An axe. Coincidentally, a lone axe was sticking on a tree stump. Gathering your strength, you pried it off of its hinges, nearly knocking yourself down with it. Dragging the heavy axe to the front door, you swing it open, breaking the wooden door piece by piece until a hole forms into it. The smell is now stronger than it was ever before, making you scrunch up your nose. With one last blow, the door falls, the shattered piece of wood now hanging by its hinges as you enter the room. You feel your soul leave your body. The strength from your legs disappears as you drop to your knees, the pool of blood staining your skin. The iron-smelling liquid's thick texture made you feel pure disgust as a shiver ran down your spine. Ain't no way. Oh. Ooh. Holy shit. What? What The actual shit? What? Okay. I tried to tell you all that Soul is a problem. Nobody wanted to believe me. No. No. Please. Please. God. This couldn't be happening. You want to rip your heart out of your chest. You want to burn this whole forest to ash. Before you lay Crowe's corpse. His head is barely attached to his shoulders, and you can clearly see the gaping injury left by something sharp on his neck. Blood drips from the deep cut, the red liquid pooling around his lifeless body. His eyes were left open, and you gaze at them, wishing, praying, and hoping that his vibrant azure orbs would smile at you again. But no, his eyes remain dull, soulless. You mutter his name over and over and over, asking him to get up, to talk to you, to tell you what happened. But he didn't. You hear footsteps behind you, accompanied by the clanking of metal before something drops to the ground. You swiftly turn around, meeting the eyes of someone you never expected to be here. A pair of fiery red orbs grew wide like saucers as their owner beholds your slumped, blood-stained figure. His gaze reveals a mix of surprise, dread, and panic. Lion? No, you shouldn't be here. You need to leave. His pleas fell on deaf ears. Instead, you stare at the bloody hand axe that he dropped, his equally bloodied hands, and his dark shirt wet with red liquid. He reeks of blood. He killed him. He killed Crowe. You killed him, didn't you, Soul? Soul bit his tongue, refusing to answer your question as he stays put. You can see the way his jaw clenches, his expression now filled with rage. He was going to take you away from me. I've only done something I wish I should have done years ago. So you're not even going to deny it. I would never lie to you, Lion. But why? Why did you do this? Because I love you, Lion. And I'm not letting that bastard take you away from me. You're mine, and mine alone. You were taken aback by his declaration of love towards you. It left a disgusting taste in your mouth. How dare he taint the word love? How dare he throw it around like it's an object? You monster. What? You lunge at him, aiming for his neck, and pushing him down on the dirt ground. He claws at your hands, not expecting your sudden strength as you unbuckle his choker, pulling on the strap and using it to choke him. You mean nothing to me. I don't even know you. You love me. I loved him. He was everything to me. He was my savior, my first love, my everything. What do you know about me? You must pay for what you've done. Soul couldn't muster a single word as you kept pulling on the strap around his neck. Your vision fills with red as your desire to take revenge overwhelms you. The strength in his hands weaken as Soul loses air. And soon, you feel something sharp. Something painful. You look down, expecting to see your successful revenge through your classmate's soulless eyes. But the light remains in his eyes. Instead, it is filled with horror. You cough. Blood seeps through your lips, you look further down and see a sharp blade through your chest. The object swiftly What happened here? Is he still... Okay, the screen's still the same. The object swiftly disappears after someone pulls it out of your body. Blood slowly gushes out of your wound. You feel someone push you down. A pair of hands moves your body. You couldn't care less as you stare at the dusty ceiling of the worn-out shed, your vision slowly darkening. From the corner of your eye, you can make out the blurry figure of the man you've come to befriend the day before. A few droplets of something wet splatters on your cheek. He's crying. Lion, stay. No. No, please. Stay with me. Another figure enters your fading vision, and the soul takes notice of them. You recognize the blade in their grasp as they wipe it clean of your blood, your killer. Soul gets into an argument with the guy, his muffled screams reprimanding them. You can barely hear the person's responses as they calmly speak with Soul. Keeping your eyes open is getting tiring. Breathing is getting tiring. With one last breath, you flutter your eyes closed. And the last thing you hear are these exact words. No witnesses. I had a feeling it was Hugo that killed us. Bad end. No witnesses. Holy moly, what the fuck? What? Okay. So, I was really confused when I booted up this game because I thought it was a prequel, and then I started to find out that this is basically, I suppose the dev decided to just rewrite the entirety of Day 1. And clearly, Day 2 can end very quickly. I told y'all, I told every single one of you that Soul was not a good look, but Team Soul out here is championing this guy. Maybe your tone will change after this crazy stuff. And I'm gonna have to go romance him anyway. Let's go back in here and see what else we can find. So I'm going to prioritize Crowe here. And maybe, just maybe, we can get him to survive. So for reference, I don't know if I should say for reference, I think if I take his hand here, he'll probably gain more weight on the scale. But we know if we romance Soul, at least, maybe depending on our choices, he's gonna die. But I wonder if we kind of balance them out if he doesn't die. Who knows? Let's play around and find out. Alright, so I'm taking his arm. What happened here? Alright, so he's still pissed. What I'm also gonna do is, as per usual, I'm just gonna skip text that we've seen if I get the option. You didn't take his outstretched hand, but rather boldly wrapped your arm around his, earning a look of surprise from his azure eyes. He did not question you on the matter, but a wide smile made its way to his features, while a slight blush dusted his cheeks. He holds onto your arm tight and leads the both of you away from the school grounds. Okay, so right now I'm going to disappoint him and say that I am about gods. Let's see what happens. Oh, okay. I do. They are the very beings that blessed our lands and soil. Back in my hometown, We would go to worship in our village's patron goddess's church and pray for a good harvest. You recall your visits to the village temple with your father. Being regulars, you visited enough to the point where you became friends with some of those who resided within the church. Every time you dropped by to worship, you and your father would offer your healthiest crops to thank your patron. You haven't gone to church in a while, probably because the city doesn't have a church for your patron deity. Your goddesses had more followers near your village, all the way to the south. Crowe gives you a nod of understanding. How about you? Do you believe in gods? You turn to Crowe, repeating the same question he asked you earlier. Alright, so we're gonna give him a hug. This dude's still angry. You didn't feel as bad as before, but your vessel is not completely empty yet. Somehow, just looking at Crowe, at the comfort he brought you, made you want to bask in it longer, until you were sure you had no tears left to shed. Leaning down once more, you bury your face in the crook of his neck, and his arms instinctively wraps around you. His hug warm and soothing as he waits for you to gather your thoughts. Crowe rubs circles on your back, a silent way of telling you that he was there, you were not alone, and that he'd be there whenever you needed him. He didn't say a word, understanding that you need silence more than anything right now. You couldn't thank him enough for always knowing what you needed. You have no idea exactly how long you remained in that embrace while lying down on the grass, but you feel a lot better that you are ready to get back up on your feet. You pull away, meeting Crowe's eyes that seem to ask after your well-being. Fixing his collar, he turns to you. Are you good to go? You could read just that from his gaze. You nod slightly, and it is only then that Crowe completely releases you from his embrace, helping you sit up before he dusts off the grass that stuck to his shirt. He gives you a once-over and gently swats away the leaves on your hair and clothes. You blink at him. He only smiles at you. You get up and Crowe retrieves his bag, almost forgotten, by the tree. He looks back at you and takes your hand silently. It was time to go. It was time to leave this magical place. You look at the stars, at how brightly they shone. You gave the sky one last glance before turning away, hand clasped tightly around Crowe's as you let him lead you home. Alright, day 2. Any changes here? Okay, maybe I'll survive. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me, the one who loves. I was a child, she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea. The sun setting by the horizon colors the grassy field into a deep, golden orange as the wind made some strands of hair brush across your face. Your ever-beloved home, the tall grass, the fresh air, the various farm animals that you and your family raised since you were but a mere child. You can't even imagine what was happening before you right now, as a group of people came while they talked with your father. Your only family member left. You see the distress in your father's eyes as he tries his best to negotiate with the people before him. The desperation in his voice, the sweat running down his neck as he moves around his hand, gesturing this and that. Please, just give me more time. I promise I can pay up. This is all we have left. I don't know where else to go if we lose this farmland. We've given you enough chances already, Mr. of Legend. If you don't pay up your debt, we will take your land. The loud ringing of the school bell rang across the hallway, making you jerk out of your thoughts. Students came out through their classroom doors. You feel someone shaking you awake. You sat up and met face to face with Crowe. Well, good morning, Sleeping Beauty. You let out a yawn. You rubbed your eyes as you looked around. Your fellow classmates are now gone from their seats, as it is now lunchtime. What did I miss? Nothing important. Though, if you're having doubts, I can lend you my notes afterwards. Thanks, Crowe. You're a lifesaver. Anything for you, Lion. You recalled the little dream you had. You quickly shake it off as you let out a stretch, popping a few joints before you got up and went out of your classroom with Crowe in tow. You met up with your group of friends, seeing Daryl with Geo and Crowe waiting by the lockers, Brittany coming along behind them and Jess. You waved at them. Good noon to you all. Regards, Daryl. How was class? Boring and boring. So glad to be out of there. One more useless minor and I'll be out of here. Geo just shrugged, a hand in his hoodie pocket while the other on his phone. We got to at least do something in our major today, though, which I'm glad about. More papers, but it was at least something. Enough about papers. So about the Halloween party. Any ideas for a costume yet? As they talked with each other, at the corner of your eye, you noticed a familiar figure. These motherfuckers. It was Soul. He came out of a classroom, and another person came afterwards behind him, seemingly bored out of his mind. The problem is now that we've seen the bad ending, I am going to be looking at Hugo and Soul with a completely different perspective for the rest of this playthrough. Granted, I kind of had a feeling that Hugo, we're not his first kill, judging by previous versions of this game. So I'm gonna stay with the group for now. Let's see what happens here. Not too bad. They seem pretty busy. Putting away whatever idea you had, you returned your attention back to your group of friends. So, cafeteria? Everyone cringed, not hiding their discomfort. No. Hell no. Not there. I'd rather not, Daryl. How about somewhere else? Geo just facepalmed. Well, where do you suggest? Daryl flailed his arms. You thought for a moment as you looked outside. Bushes with a few flowers sprouting caught your attention, as it blends well with the red and yellows of autumn. It gives you a sense of tranquility. Garden. That's right. I may know a place. Have you guys been to the school's garden behind? Oh, right. The botanical garden used by the pharmacy course? That could be a good idea. There's a space perfect for our little picnic today. But isn't that place locked? Jess peeked in. You smirked, before pulling out a set of keys from your belt and dangling them. I just happen to be a volunteer gardener. Extra credit. I didn't know you gardened, Lion. Everyone's gaze was on you, curiosity in their eyes. Even Geo's eyebrow raised a bit. Everyone except for Crowe. He grew up on a farm. And now everyone's attention was on Crowe, catching him off guard by the looks they're giving to him. "Of course you know, lover boy," Brittany whispers under her breath as she rolls her eyes. Jess just giggled. Crowe's cheeks burned red from Brittany's comment. You rubbed the back of your head. "You never really got the chance to properly introduce yourself to them, huh? Considering you've just started hanging out with them a week and a half ago. These past months, you've only been hanging around with Crowe the most. He was your only friend. Maybe this is your time to get to know them and them with you." Brittany let out a sigh as she turned to you. She moved the picnic basket to her other arm and placed a free hand on her hip. "Lead the way, Lion." You nodded before escorting the group along the back of the school and into the gardens. You inhale the familiar scent of fresh earth. A few leaves dance around the air, guided by the winds of autumn. Before you stands the school's own greenhouse. The greenhouse, where multiple healthy greens and colorful flora grow. This place is usually occupied by biology and botany students, with the occasional science teacher watching over them. You worked a lot of odd jobs for the school to lessen your student loan expenses. Your duties ranged from being a janitor to a teacher's assistant, but none of your positions would last as long as you hoped for, because you always found yourself somehow getting in trouble for some sort of mess you made. You felt hopeless until your advisor recommended placing you in the greenhouse. With your background and knowledge related to plants, you thought maintaining the greenhouse was a perfect fit. You've been working here ever since. Oftentimes, you think you understand the layout of the place, that you practically know the area like the back of your hand. But every day, you seem to discover a new corner that you've never been to before. Sometimes, you're not even sure if you're within campus grounds anymore. It's probably because of the forest that stretched beyond this area. Anyway, there's a large fence preventing you from crossing the border, so you never really bothered to explore further unless you want to get in trouble or be accused of slacking off. For now, you wanted to show your group of friends the new discovery you've made while on duty last week. There's a field with a large tree right around the corner. It can make for a perfect shade for our little picnic. You exclaim, earning a look of approval from Brittany, almost as if she's impressed. The rest of the cast follow behind as you lead them to your destination. You hear some gasps of awe behind you. Daryl chuckles heartily in delight. Crowe hums, feeling pleasant, and you hear Brittany saying, "Interesting." They are clearly amazed at the field before them, and it fills you with pride, knowing that you were able to impress them. "Well, come on. The field's great, especially to lie on." "Owie." "Not yet." Brittany slapped Daryl's hand away from the basket before he could raid the whole thing, making him wince and pout. "Calm your ass down. You'll have your turn. At this point, I'll have to charge you all every time y'all hit me." "Are you some kind of masochist?" Daryl gave Gio a side-eye. Brittany shook her head, while Jess just giggled. It was a cute little get-together that Brittany planned last night. She wanted to make a few sandwiches, so she prepared lots of varieties. On the blankets are a few Tupperwares, with some of the sandwiches inside, while the rest were eaten. Everyone got their fair share already. By now, everyone is just minding their own business. Daryl is having the time of his life with 2 sandwiches on both his hands. Brittany and Jess are talking. Gio is a bit further away from the group, leaning on the bark of the tree, seemingly lost in thought. And Crowe is nowhere to be seen. Alright. So, this is familiar. We did this last time. So let's, I suppose just go down the list. You were quite hesitant to approach Gio at first. You always saw him as someone quite intimidating. More intimidating than Brittany. It's probably the way he carries himself. His towering height isn't helping either. And it seems like you've been staring at him for too long. He stopped chewing on his sandwich as his gaze met yours. You shivered. What do you want? We have questions. Hurry up and spit it out. Why do you hang out with us? I mean, I don't mean it in a bad way, it's just that I'm curious. You don't seem the type to... His piercing gaze made your voice die down. You cursed under your breath. Fuck. I think this is it for me. I get it. But you wouldn't understand. Leave me to my devices. Now. He demanded before wrapping the half-eaten sandwich he had in his hand, before throwing it towards you. You caught it, nearly losing your balance. And give that to Daryl. I just lost my appetite. Gio then crossed his arms and looked up at the sky, the chilly autumn breeze passing by him, making his long hair sway along with his washy earrings. You take a look at the wrapped half-eaten sandwich in your hand. I guess I'll never know. You sigh. You turned back to Gio. He side-eyed you for a brief moment, but didn't say anything as he continued on gazing at the sky. He seemed to be ignoring your presence. It's better you don't disturb him. All right, to Daryl. What are these mail icons? Oh, that's save. Oh. Save and load. Ah, I've been right-clicking this whole time to do that. Gotcha. Daryl seems to be the least busy out of everyone. You approached his sitting figure as you took a seat in front of him, one sandwich gone from his hand as he munched on the other one on his other hand. He notices you and stops eating, tucking away the sandwich and placing all of his attention on you. Here. You took out the half-eaten sandwich you got from Gio and handed it to him. He tilted his head to the side. You can't finish yours? It's from Gio. Really now? Not gonna lie, that's quite uncharacteristic of him. Usually he would either finish it or throw it away. Not that I'm complaining though. Thanks, Lion. Daryl thanked you with a smile and took the half-eaten sandwich from your hands before tucking it away. You got something to ask me, Lion? Guess we'll just go down the list. What are your thoughts on Gio? Daryl smiled as he leaned a bit forward. Now, Gio's my favorite guy. Even if he's a bit of a meanie at times. What makes you stick to him? Isn't he mean to you like you said? Daryl's smile brightened as his eyes went soft. He side-eyed the male by the tree who had his arms crossed. Gio's attention was somewhere else. People are scared of him. It's probably because of his background. What about it? The thing is, No one really knows what his family does, other than the fact that they're super rich, and that they are highly involved with the founder of this city. People have seen him with his bodyguards, all rugged and tall and very intimidating. Heck, I even saw one with a huge katana on their back. You shivered. Clearly, you don't want to deal with them. But what makes you not scared, Daryl? I mean, clearly you know what his family and himself are capable of. You see, Lion, I am not really scared of him. On the outside, he's all stubborn and cruel. But on the inside, he's a really nice guy. Think of him like, He pursed his lips, thinking a bit. He's like a stubborn cat. You glanced back at Gio one more time. You are seeing the cat ears and the tail all right. Now that you think about it, with this vision based on Daryl's declaration, Gio does not seem quite intimidating anymore. How cute. Then you hear a sigh from Daryl. You returned your attention to him, an elbow on his leg as he held his face in hand. Which begs me to wonder how he ended up in the lower class with us. The low class. How do we have things like that? Oh? You don't know about the hierarchy, Lion? You shook your head no, and Daryl scratched the back of his head. Oh, damn. Well, Lion, almost everyone knows about it. But I don't blame you since no one really likes bringing that type of subject up. I think either Crowe or Jess would like to explain it to you. Just not Brittany. She gets riled up when it's mentioned. You nod in understanding, and Daryl gives you a smile. Anyway, you got something to ask me, Lion? What do you think about Jess? At the mention of Jess's name, Daryl's whole face turned red as he started sweating. What about her? I don't know. I'd like you to tell me. What do you think about her? Daryl's cheeks just keep getting redder and redder. For a moment, his gaze turned to where Jess and Brittany were. He sighs as he looks away. Jess is the sweetest human being I have ever met. Oh? But don't tell anyone. I trust you with this, because Crowe trusts you, okay? Alright. I don't know what's the big fuss yet, but I promise I won't tell. You raised your hands in surrender. The taller jock deflated on his spot, his shoulders down along with his mood. But, yeah. She's sweet, she's pretty, she's cute. While some would make fun of me, she's always there to give me a pat on the back. He groans, doubling over. His expression seems like he wants to throw up as he buried his face in his hands. But I doubt she likes me back. You tilted your head, wondering why he thinks that way. What makes you say that? The way she looks at Brittany. Don't you think that's the look of someone in love? At that, your eyes widened in surprise. You quickly turned your head to where the two girls were. The eyes behind the transparent frames looked like the fresh citrus oranges in summer. They were bright. And they were fresh for the picking for Brittany. I know because that's the same look I gave to her when I first met her. And it's the same look I see on Crowe when he looks at you. He twirled a loose strand from his bangs. He He looked away from the two girls and focused on your surprised figure. I hate it. But I love seeing that look on her face. I wish it was on me, though. I'm sorry, Daryl. He chuckled a bit. It's alright. Maybe one day I'll confess, just to get it off my chest. All I want is to see her happy. Even if it's not with me. Anyway, enough of this sad shit, Lion. I would like to know more about you, Daryl. Daryl rubbed the back of his head, quite embarrassed you thought about him. Well, aren't you a flatterer? Ahem. Where should I start? He thought for a while, his legs crossed while you waited for him as he pondered. Well, I am the ace of my football club. I hate my coach, but don't tell him that. I love food. Like, lots. My most favorite would be sweets. If you ever got any on ya, smuggle me some, will ya? He says with a wink and a nudge. Other than that, I guess that's pretty much it. Daryl gives you a proud smile. Brittany? She's my first friend back when I was new to the football team. You'd be surprised that she used to be in the cheer squad, despite her being quite introverted. She was. Daryl's bright smile softened, a small gloomy look in it. He was trying so hard to hide it, but was failing. Yeah. She quit right after the game's big frat party 2 years ago. That party was something else, since the higher classes were also a part of it. The following day, she suddenly quit. I don't know why, though. Not quite worth thinking about the past anyway. What do you think about Crowe? At the mention of the blue-eyed friend of his, Daryl gives you a toothy grin as he wiggles his eyebrows. You want jits on your little crushie, don't you, Lion? Shut up. I just admire him, okay? Daryl laughed and stopped his teasing, saving you from further embarrassment. Crowe is quite an individual. All I know is that he's a son of a very successful businesswoman in the city. Though, I heard he doesn't have a great relationship with his family. What makes you say that? Daryl thought for a bit, but judging from his expression, he couldn't understand why either. I don't know either, Lion. You should ask Crowe for that if you want to learn more. I see. Don't worry, Lion. I'm sure he'll do anything that you ask for. He gives you a playful wink. You rolled your eyes, but gave him a smile nonetheless. Thank you for answering my questions, Daryl. Anytime, Lion. You're one of us now, so open up a little. Alright, I've got nothing else to ask. Daryl gives you a smile before nodding. Brittany was minding her own business, seemingly tapping away on her phone. You were kind of shy to come any closer. But before you could turn and leave, however, she called out to you. She must have seen you from the corner of her eye. Oi, Lion, come here. Don't be a stranger now. You clearly want to talk. Let me guess, were the sandwiches great? They were wonderful, Brittany. She smiled at your response. I'm glad you like them, Lion. Anyway, enough of my sandwiches. You have something to tell me? Have you seen Crowe? Crowe? I think I saw him go deeper in the gardens, Brittany said with a raise of her brows. Let me guess. You want to finally confess your undying feelings for him. What makes you think that? Wow. I'm not sure who is denser, him or you. Whatever, if you need him, he's probably in the greenhouse. Brittany gives you a thumbs up, mouthing a good luck. As if I'm confessing, you thought with a pout. Brittany just gives you a teasing smirk. Anyway, enough of that. What are your thoughts on Daryl? Brittany just chuckled. You mean that meathead? He's an idiot, she says with a smile, and then she sighed. She shakes her head at the thought of the tall jock. He's an idiot, but he's a smart idiot. I'll give him that. He's like a brother to me. It just baffles me how he barely has any friends. How this school fails us. She shakes the idea before returning her attention back to you. What are your thoughts on Gio? Brittany raised an eyebrow. Don't tell me you've got the hots for him. Nothing of the sorts. What makes you think that? I mean, I wouldn't blame you if you do. If you can see how his locker is often filled with multiple love letters and gifts from various people, then I wouldn't be surprised. He's that popular. A loner like him? You'd be surprised. Tall, mysterious, and dangerous. Everyone just flocks to him like birds. But people are scared to even get close to him, so the next best thing they could do is send him gifts. They never succeed, though. Is he somehow overwhelmed by the attention? Not really overwhelmed, more like he is uninterested. He either doesn't read the letters and tosses them, or he burns them. He burns them? That's so mean, and a waste of gifts, too. Brittany just laughed, her shoulders shaking. That's Gio to you. How do you know all of this? Brittany giggled before giving you a wink as she pressed a manicured finger on her lips, as if to shush you. I know a lot of secrets. Anyway. What are your thoughts on Jess? Upon hearing her name, Jess's head turned to where you both were. Brittany dismissed her, telling her it's nothing for her to worry about before turning back to you. Jessie? She's my best friend. She smiled as she looked at the orange band on her wrist. My very best friend. When no one was there to help me, she was there. You'd be surprised how confident and loud she is when she's mad. Brittany chuckled a bit as if reminiscing a fond memory. I owe it all to her for bringing me back up during those dark times. But enough of the past. Alright, got nothing else. Brittany gives you a nod before standing up from the ground. She stretches her limbs, letting out a few satisfying pops. She places a hand on her hip. I'll be cleaning a bit. I'll talk to you later, Lion. You don't want any help? No thanks. I appreciate the thought, though. You nodded as you stood up as well, leaving Brittany to attend on her own devices. Jess was admiring the few orange leaves slowly falling from the tree. The slow descent of a leaf catches her attention, before gracefully catching it with her delicate fingers. She notices you approaching her. She dropped the leaf before giving her full attention to you. Yes, Lion? What seems to be the problem? Oh, there's nothing. Actually, I just want to talk to you and ask a few questions. Then by all means, go ahead. I'll try my best to answer them. Have you seen Crowe? Jess's eyebrows furrowed and shakes her head. I don't think I know where Crowe is. Maybe you should ask Brittany. Maybe she knows. You thanked her. What are your thoughts on Geo? Jess's shoulders started shaking at the mention of the tall and stoic individual. I hate to be one of those people, but he actually scares me. Have you seen how capable he is with a bow and arrow? No. Actually, is he really that good? I only know that he's from the archery club. Oh, then you should definitely attend the sports event next year. Geo is going to compete, and all the higher classes will be there to determine if the students are worth bringing up. Another shiver went down her spine. She wrapped her arms around herself. A bad memory crosses her mind. But whenever that happens, Geo seems to somehow miss his target and nearly hit someone with his arrow. What the fuck? Thankfully, it only cut the guy's hair and nothing else. He got disqualified, sadly, but that was enough for me not to mess with him. How is he not in jail? You try to rack up your brain for a reason why he's in school and not behind bars. However, Jess cut you off before you could think any further. Enough of that. What are your thoughts on Daryl? At the mention of Daryl, Jess's face went bright. This is probably the first time you have seen her smile without shaking like a lost lamb. Oh, Daryl. He's an amazing friend. He keeps me safe, and I owe it up to him quite a lot. Though I do feel bad for him most of the time. Brittany and Geo tease him way too much. Jess chuckled, looking at the jock sitting under the tree before returning back to you. He's a funny guy. I remember back then when I made the mistake of giving him a bowl filled with candy last year's Halloween. He did tell me he likes sweets. Why? What's wrong with giving him candy? Well, he gets a sugar rush pretty quickly and gets super hyper. Brittany tried so hard in calming him down. Can you imagine a 6-foot-tall jockey going around like a playful puppy? I bet Brittany didn't have a fun time. Just nodded with a closed smile at you. What are your thoughts on Brittany? Upon mentioning the Yaru's name, Brittany's head turned to the both of you. She didn't say anything, but raised a brow as she tilted her head to the side. You called for me? Nothing, Britt. Jess quickly shooed her best friend away. Brittany shrugged before continuing on with her own business. Jess lets out a sigh of relief as a small tint of red raises to her cheeks. Jess looked down on her skirt, fiddling with her pink wristband as her heartbeat quickened. Britt, she's my best friend, my very best friend, and I would do anything to see her happy again. She pushed back her glasses and looked at you. And there you saw the sparkles. Her smile is soft, and you can tell. Jess, do you like Brittany? She was hesitant before looking down, nodding as she did so, still fiddling with her pink wristband. Promise not to tell? I promise. Thank you, Lion. This will just be between the two of us. Besides, she gives you a big smile. I'll keep your oh-so-secret crush towards Crowe as secret too. She giggled at your surprised look at the mention of Crowe. You rubbed the back of your head as you pouted. And that's it. Jess nods as she clasps her hands. It was wonderful talking to you, Lion. You should hang out with us more. And with that, she gives you a wave goodbye. And let's go look for Crowe. You've pretty much talked with everyone here, and they all seem to be busying themselves. You looked around the garden before moving in deeper into the Red Autumn Wonderland. As you kept moving forward, you were greeted by the greenhouse. Through the transparent glass, you spot a familiar head of brown. You went inside the greenhouse and saw Crowe go through each plant and flower, analyzing each delicate leaf and petal. Noticing he's not alone, he turned to where you were and smiled. "Oh, there you are, Lion. What brings you here?" "I would say the same thing to you." "Well, I haven't really explored this place properly before, so why not take that chance?" "You've never been here?" Crowe shakes his head. "Never got the time to visit." Crowe chuckles. You meet his gaze and he gives you a soft smile. His gaze lingered a bit before going around. He then found something that caught his attention. "Now this is a pretty looking flora. What do you think this is?" You looked at the brush of flowers filled with purple flowers, their petals thin as it showcases its full bloom. "This is a passion flower." "Fascinating. Tell me more about it." "Well, it's a climbing vine plant. Usually its colors are purple or white. Once flowers bloom, passion fruits will bear itself. Usually a volunteer would come and harvest the fruits." "That sounds interesting, Lion. But that's the scientific way to describe this flower. How about its meaning?" You tilted your head to the side. "What do you mean? How do I say this?" He places a hand under his chin. "In astrology, each star has a meaning behind it. Same goes with gemstones like your birthstone. Flowers have those as well, correct?" "Huh. I never really thought of it." Crowe gives you a cheeky smile. "It's interesting. Passion flowers symbolizes hope and growth. I love seeing the hopeful looks on people," he says as he looks at the flowers before you both. "Hope. Something this city needs. I want to get rid of the hierarchy." Daryl mentioned something about that. Actually, everyone did. But how come I never heard of it? What is it about? I never got to explain it to you, huh? I guess now's the perfect time, since they're quite active in interacting with us in the lower class again. He looks out. Our school, Olympias University, has 2 buildings with 2 different classes. One is where we are at the moment, the lower class, while around the northern part of the city is where the higher classes are. There, education is 10 times better, the facilities are better, and the students are way out of our league. He hesitates a bit in voicing his thoughts of the students in the higher class. "Though I highly doubt that," he added, his eyes narrowed. The lower class. Calling it lower class is kind of low, in my opinion. I call them villagers, humble people. They're either really kind or either too busy to bother. There was a hint of hesitation in his voice. Well, not all. Failed students in the higher class often end up here with us. And well, they don't really take it well. Which explains the bullying situation. Crowe's brows slanted downward, disgusted by the idea. The fact that he can't do anything is irritating him. How come no one tried to file a report or anything? People tried. I tried. We tried. But unless you either have money or a higher reputation, heck, even both, they'll bother to even listen. Crowe sighs. Which is why some students try their hardest to get up the ranks, to be part of the higher class. All of that, just to be respected? Crowe didn't say anything to you but a nod. The hierarchy. Crowe lets out a sad laugh. The system is kind of a, if you feel it, you feel it thing. You don't really feel it, much less see it unless you've been at its mercy. It's a dog-eats-dog world out there, Lion. You'll never know who is the next victim. A soft, sad smile made its way on his face, which is why I strive to protect you. Both of those sound so... You were left to your thought process to what Crowe told you about the newfound information. This probably explains the bullying and how the school is handled. Your position in the city is just a second priority. Heck, maybe not even a priority at all. That means if I ever want to help keep my family's farm up, I have to make it up there? Crowe nodded before continuing. Once you're up there, you'll have a better life. You'll be respected. You'll be rich. People would do as you tell them. That's messed up. Did people ever protest? Crowe, however, did not answer, as if scared that someone would hear him. He remained quiet, only giving you a look that probably says that things did not go well. You refused to ask for more elaboration. That reminds me, Lion. Crowe starts. You never told me as to how or why you chose this university. Your family owns farms, correct? You bit your lip as you thought of home. We do, but I wouldn't say we're doing well. I'm sorry to hear that. It's okay, really. It's my burden to carry, and not yours. And I'm going to work hard for it. Anything. I'll do anything. Your eyes widen at the words that the well-dressed man said. No, I refuse. Lion, you are not taking this farm, my home. I missed those last words. I thought I told you to stay inside. You cut your father's words off, marching towards the tall man with loud and heavy footsteps. The tall man, however, raised a brow at you, raising his hand to halt his men. His deep magenta eyes then turned to look straight in your eyes. It sent a chill down your spine. Whoa. A bit feisty seeing that this is our first time meeting, right? Let me introduce myself first. My name is... So, I can't see the name in the normal chat, but I can see it in the history. Zedat... I don't... How do I say this? Zedzatica Asmodeus? I mean, who knows? This might be a falsified name since you clearly can't read it here. But who knows? Okay, I'm gonna say this is probably their real name. But you may call me Mr. Z. And as far as our little agenda, how about this, little lamb? If you manage to pay off your debt for the next 5 years, I'll let you off the hook, and you can keep your land. 5 years, you can handle that. Maybe working 3 jobs would do it for you. He tuts, waving a finger in front of your face. He looks down at you, reminding you of your place, a mischievous smile appearing on his handsome features. But I have some conditions you need to meet. You went silent. Your heart starts pounding in your chest as you kept eye contact with his sharp magenta orbs. I want you to stay in the city. The city? But we can't even afford to take him to college. What more moving in the city? Your father interrupts the man mid-sentence. The man merely gives your father a side glance, making the old man freeze on his feet before returning his gaze back to you. No need to worry. He'll be under my jurisdiction, of course. I'll provide for his education and accommodation. Suddenly, he burst out in laughter, throwing his head back a bit as if he just heard a very funny joke. See, I'm not that cruel. Wouldn't you agree, Lion? But, just like I said before, I want you to pay off your debt. Land doesn't come in cheap, darling. And I've been very patient with how long this land's payment's been postponed. A sudden jerk on your collar made your heart jump, his face now mere inches away from yours, his brows furrowed in anger and filled with spite. Lion, not one step, old man. He screams at your father, not sparing him a glance as he kept his hold on your collar. You try to claw his hands away from it, but to no avail, seeing that you are losing more air the more you struggle. Listen here, punk. I don't care what kind of method you're going to do in order to make money. A dark smile appeared on his face. It sends a shiver down your spine. Be a good citizen and get a part-time job like the rest, or whore yourself out in strip clubs. Legal or illegal, I don't fucking care. As long as you reach the amount. I have to say, am I going crazy, or does this person's face kind of remind me of Soul? The face, the hairstyle. There's a cross necklace, a cross earring. They both wear collars. I know this is definitely not Soul, but I am starting to wonder if there's a relation. As long as you reach the amount. If not, well, you can say goodbye to your little farmland. He says that, but there is a gleam in his eye that is telling you that that's not all. Letting go of your collar, he steps back as you greedily take in the air that you lost, tears making its way towards your eyes, threatening to drop. So, little fawn, what is it going to be? You bit the bottom of your lip. You turn to look at your father. His eyes were clearly telling you to decline. You didn't want to comply to this man's words, much less take his offer. You think he might throw you another form of debt for letting him fund you to go to the city. There is something about this man that screams dangerous. But you were too desperate to not lose your home. Your only home. Tick-tock, sweet thing. I haven't got all day. The tall man's gaze still fixed on you, waiting for your answer. Do you accept? But you're nearing the end of the school year, and you cannot afford to go back again, not with this debt. Credit alone isn't enough to cut it. Whenever you think about it, you keep seeing the tall man's ever-sharp magenta eyes burning into you. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth and a stinging feeling in your chest. Your heart ached as you stare back into Crowe's own azure eyes. Are you all right there, Lion? You zoned out a bit. If I get to be part of the higher class, then I can have a better chance in life, right? Crowe was surprised at your sudden enthusiasm, but nodded regardless. That's right. As you give Crowe a reassuring smile, you clenched your fist. Then I'll work hard to show those higher class that I am worth their time. Crowe chuckles and nods. You know that he's got your back. Then Crowe raised his hand and tucked a loose strand behind your ear. You sensed him placing something soft, and you reached out to touch what felt like petals. That looks good on you. What is it? Crowe then leads you to a nearby pond. You looked and saw your reflection. On your hair is a red carnation. Oh, I didn't know carnations grow here. Crowe only chuckled, fixing the flower on your hair. Crowe looks around for a while, basking in the various beauties of flora. What do you think carnation means? You tilted your head, making sure the flower doesn't fall from your head, as Crowe continued on with his talk. Passion flower means hope, while carnations mean... I couldn't seem to remember. What do you think it means, Lion? You thought for a while, knowing some carnations are to be found in bouquets. Well, it has to be something romantic. They're often a perfect gift to family and loved ones. Is that so? I might have to look up what it means then. Your eyes met his, and for a moment, his gaze lingered. Were his eyes always this blue? You've never noticed before. The way his lashes flutter and touch his cheeks when he blinks. His plump lips are always glistening whenever sunlight hits him. His eyes went half-lidded as he leaned closer and closer. And as if in a trance, your eyes slowly start to close. Oh boy. Let's lean in. As if you lost control of your body and it started moving on its own, you leaned closer as well. Your eyes now closed, feeling his breath near your own lips as he draws closer and closer. Crowe! Oh, of course, Brittany. Your eyes popped open and you quickly backed away. Crowe backed away as well as he waved to Brittany. Brittany just raised a brow at the both of you before shrugging it off and leaving the greenhouse. Crowe sighed, seemingly disappointed, before giving you his hand for you to take. We should get going. You pouted at the moment ruined before accepting his extended hand and left the greenhouse with Crowe. You and the rest of the group got back inside the campus. Everyone already went to their respective classes. I'm going to head back first. I'll see you in class, Lion. Of course. Crowe didn't walk away just yet. He stood there for a while, contemplating something before shaking his head and walking away, a tint of red touching the tips of his ears as he walked. You spot a familiar head of raven green, and right beside him is a shorter individual. Soul noticed you first and went to you, a noticeable skip in his steps. Lion. Hey, Soul. And who might this be beside you? Hi there. You're friends with Sunny? Sunny? Sunny! He pats Soul at the back, causing the taller male to jerk slightly forward. Soul gives him an irritated look, observing the way his face is slowly turning red. You know, because he's such a sunshine, he's Sunny. You let out a small giggle, shifting your eyes towards Soul as he catches your gaze on his. Upon landing eye contact, Soul quickly averts his gaze away from yours, holding up his hand as he tries his hardest to hide his face away. Like a nickname. Yes, Sunny loves the nickname I gave him. Right, Sunny? Soul remains silent, still refusing to meet your gaze. That's adorable. For a moment, the three of you were silent before the shorter male speaks up once more. You sure have a taste, Sonny. He's very pretty, like you said. A blush makes its way to your face. Scratching the back of your head, you bit your bottom lip as you let out a small thank you. Anyway, nice to meet you. My name's Hugo. I'm this big old grumpy's best friend. Lion, a pleasure to meet you too. He extends his hand for you to take, in which you merely accept, shaking it and puts it back on his side, a smile on his face as he did so. Are you both heading to your next class? Hugo laughed, a hand on his chest as if you told him a very funny joke. Actually, I have a better idea. Let's skip class. Skip class? Yeah, it'll be fun. Ah, of course. Soul here has been meaning to ask you out. Soul gave Hugo a punch on his rib, making the shorter male choke out the words he was supposed to say as he doubled over and clenched his stomach. Let's ditch. Hugo just gave him a glare. Soul ignored him as he anticipated your answer. Hanging out with these two sounds fun, but you remember your next class with Crowe. Maybe you can. So for this run, we're gonna focus on Crowe. So out of curiosity, 2-5. I can't skip class. Oof. Went to a 1. I'm sorry. I couldn't bear to skip on the second day. Soul didn't say anything as his shoulders slumped, indicating his obvious disappointment. But there was something else in the dullness of his eyes. You were interrupted by Hugo. That's all right, Lion, but promise you'll hang out eventually. On a weekend then, I'm sure. Wait. Soul spoke, making you and Hugo look at him. Can I at least take you to your next class? He asked you. There was a hint of desperation within his reddish-orange eyes. You don't see what's the problem with it, so you agreed. Well, I'll see you at the usual, Soul. Hugo waved to the both of you before walking off. Let's go, shall we? Soul nods as you walk along, Soul following beside you. You and Soul walk through the hallway towards your next class's classroom. You couldn't help but check on Soul. He seems nervous. You look down and see that his hand is shaking. Oh, jeez. Okay. We'll take his hand. What did that do? Okay, a little bit better. Reaching to his hand, you gently wrapped your hand around his. His hand stopped shaking, and he went stiff. He eventually relaxed and intertwined his fingers with yours. This makes you smile. The walk was silent, but no words needed to be said to see the growing smile on his face. You finally reached the front of your classroom door. You peeked inside through the door's window and saw Crowe in his usual seat already. You turned your attention back to Soul. Thank you for escorting me to my class, Soul. Oh, it's not a problem. His tiny smile didn't last long on his face, however. His shoulders slumped down. Though, I wish you could come with us. Maybe next time, Soul. Maybe we can hang out on a weekend or on a free schedule. Sure. His words contradict his expression as it lacks enthusiasm. Just then, the door to your classroom opened, and there you met eyes with Crowe. Crowe's eyes lit up once he saw you. There you are, Lion. Just in time for the next class. Oh? He was about to greet you, but felt Soul's presence beside him. And who might this fellow be? A classmate of yours? You can say that. Crowe, this is Soul. He's from my art class. Soul, this is Crowe. A pleasure to meet you, Soul. Crowe extended his hand for Soul to shake. Soul just stared at it. A few awkward seconds passed by before he eventually took Crowe's hand. Soul, however, wasn't regulating his strength as he gripped Crowe's hand with much force. Crowe winced from the pressure, but didn't say anything before Soul eventually let go of his hand. Soul then turned to you. I should be going now, Lion. I'll see you soon. Kind of wish you could have come with. He sighed, reaching out to tuck a loose strand of hair away from your face, earning him a small blush from you. Soul turned on his heel and walked off. You looked at his retreating figure before Crowe eventually tapped your shoulder. We should get going. With one last glance at Soul's retreating figure, you turned around and got inside your classroom. You got to your usual seat. Crowe takes his usual seat by the window in front of your own seat, waiting for the classroom to settle down as your professor comes in. All right, class, settle down. You all better turn in this upcoming paper if you don't want to end up having no grades in your card. And that means... Your professor slams down his thin notebook, the loud slap echoing through the room. You won't be able to graduate. And don't even think about making it up to the higher class with a weak mindset. Now, for today's task, I'd like you all to think of a short story based on any type of literature. Bonus points if you can source out where you got your inspiration along with references. I'll be checking those the most. You hear a few whispers from a few of your classmates as they talk with each other. Unfortunately for them, your professor notices them as he slams his thin notebook again on his desk, making some of you jolt from your seats. Now, I can allow you all to head to the library to do your research, or stay here and brainstorm. You may begin. Crowe stands up from his seat, gathering his things, then turning to you. I'm going to the library. Would you like to join me? You give him a nod, earning a smile from him as he makes his way towards the exit. Crowe waits for you as you gathered your things before leaving the classroom and to the library. Unlike lunchtime where everyone is free, the library contains only a few students, some either doing their student duties while some doing their own research. Same spot then? You read my mind. Of course, it's one of our favorite spots. With a smile on his face, he makes his way towards your favorite table near the windows and settles down. Meanwhile, you make your way towards the tall bookshelves. Scanning through each spine of each book, you try to look for something that might catch your interest. Minutes passed, and nothing seemed to catch your fancy. You sighed upon realizing this predicament. Giving up, you decided to just pick up the closest book and hope for the best that it's decent enough for your paper. Feeling a thick book, you pull it out, and nearly dropped it. It's heavy. Regaining your balance, you held onto the thick book properly and finally checked the title of the massive tome. The Biography of Marie Antoinette. Your eyebrows raise in mild curiosity. This might actually work. You flip it open, and you are met with a very well-drawn portrait of a very prestigious-looking woman. Flipping through more pages, your eyes land on a drawn figure of the same woman, but her kneeled before a guillotine. Quite a spoiler, but you read through the text below the illustration. The execution. Such a gruesome end, you thought. Deciding with this book, you tucked it under your arm for safekeeping. You take a look one last time around the bookshelves, maybe finding something of the same genre. You notice a peculiar book sticking out at the very edge of the bookshelf. It was a bit worn out and dirty. You're kind of wondering how it ended up there. You inched a bit closer to it. The spine didn't have anything on it besides a few worn edges, bent and littered with dust. You got on your tiptoes as you reach out to grab the book. However, the moment you grab it and pull it out, the bookshelf started wobbling. You immediately stopped. We'll keep prying it. With determination, you held on the shelf, making sure not to make it wobble any further as you take a firm grip on the worn book. Come here, you. I got it. Whoa. The bookshelf wobbles from the force of you pulling the lone book, threatening to push you down, making your heartbeat quicken from the sheer thought of getting crushed under the tall shelves. You quickly held out your arms wide as you try to rebalance the shelf, hoping it was enough to stop it from shaking. A few books fell then and there, making you wince. But you successfully stabilized the shelf. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. Hope no one heard that. Anyway, what is this that's so stuck to the damn thing? You flip open the cover only to see a blank page. No author whatsoever, save for the paper, the edges of it a bit yellow from age. The dust isn't helping either. You went through a few more pages, and there you finally get to see some printed words on it. The various torture devices and executions of the medieval times. How the fuck did this end up here in the school library? Then again, I might be able to get some material out of this. You shrug. Closing the book, you tucked it under your arm with the large biography book and left the area, returning to where Crowe was settled. Welcome back, Lion. Have you found anything useful for your paper? Took a while. Nothing caught my eye from the books but this one. You raised the large book and showed it to Crowe. The Queen herself. That's pretty interesting. What kind of paper are you going to make out of it? I was thinking maybe about how a tyrant royal turned good, but was punished regardless for her actions. How does that sound? Crowe was silent for a few seconds, making you tilt your head. Maybe he didn't hear you correctly. That actually sounds nice, Lion. Can I ask what's the inspiration? What did I say? You okay there, Crowe? It is not a good idea. Is it not a good idea? Can I ask what's the inspiration? Oh, well, I couldn't stop thinking about our conversation back in the greenhouse, so maybe I could base off some things here. Is that so? And that's very smart of you, Lion. Why, thank you. You did a little bow, tipping your imaginary hat as you did. Crowe chuckles at your silly gesture before you two settle down on your seats. You skim through the book, taking a few notes here and there for important bits you could use. Feeling your wrist aching a bit, you stopped scribbling and stretched out your arms, a few squeaks of satisfaction escaping your lips as you can feel the effects of your stretch. At the corner of your eye, you notice how Crowe's eyebrows tend to furrow as he goes through his books. You can feel his legs shaking from underneath the table. The occasional tapping of his pen fills the quiet library. You took a peek on his supposedly report paper, expecting some few words written on it, but instead, you were met with a blank sheet, void of words or even a droplet of ink. You're starting to worry. He seems restless about something. Crowe? Upon hearing your voice, Crowe's legs stop shaking as he turns to face you. You can see the way his expression relaxed, but the lingering feeling of uneasiness never fading. A drop of sweat rolled down from his temple. He's trying so hard to keep a calm face. Yes, Lion? Is something the matter? Are you all right? You barely wrote anything and you seem nervous. Is something bothering you? Forcing a smile, he tilts his head to the side, as if he doesn't understand what you're concerned about. A soft smile formed on his lips, giving you a false sense of security. Yes, I'm fine. Then he went silent, his eyes returning to staring down on his blank sheet of paper. The silence is quite suffocating, the air now a bit awkward. Your will to write dissipates, and was replaced by your concern over the mail beside you. Say, I've got a bit of a scenario for you to play along with, Lion. Huh? Crowe's previously gloomy attitude was replaced by a playful tone, facing his body towards you with his pen set down, discarding his thoughts from the paper. His sudden change in demeanor caught you by surprise, but he did not spare you a moment to question him as he raised a finger. Imagine yourself living in the same time as the Queen, and that you were given the chance to actually befriend her, even though you came from nothing. You often question how you managed to befriend the Queen herself. She's been nothing but kind to you, often inviting you to her parties and giving you the fanciest gifts ranging from dresses to jewelries. Now, here comes my first question. What do you think of the Queen? I see her as a friend. Let's see. 7. 9. Well, I'd honestly see her as a friend. She clearly sees me as one. Sure, I'd be a bit embarrassed from the amounts of gifts she's giving me. If I was in that situation, I'd be thankful, and probably say that her friendship is enough, and no amount of physical goods can measure the gratitude I'm feeling towards her. Crowe was silent, a bit awed by your answer. Then a smile broke free on his face. Scratching his cheek, his smile grew wider towards you. Such a noble response. Expected from you, Lion. Now what is that supposed to mean? You pounce, crossing your arms in the process. Crowe merely chuckles. Then you can feel his hand brush against yours, squeezing your hand in the process. You swear you can feel your face heating up. Oh, but this scenario isn't over yet. It's not? Nope. Here's the follow-up scenario. He sits up properly, removing his hand on yours as you anticipate his next words. Crowe takes a breath, almost contemplating on his next words before speaking. What if one day you decided to go out of her palace, wanting to either do groceries or even visit your family? And there is where you see a group of people. They're all mad, each throwing one profanity to another. Upon coming closer, it was about the Queen. You decide to come closer. They're in a heated debate, but the loudest one, a farmer, loudly proclaims on how the Queen betrayed them. How the Queen is nothing but a greedy higher-up, using the commoners' hard-working labor for her to throw parties, leaving them starving. Then the other side speaks up, a woman, saying that the farmer is wrong, and that the queen has been nothing but good to them, providing enough gold and food to keep them afloat. A child came and held onto the woman's leg, confirming her words. If it weren't for the queen, the child wouldn't have homes. The children wouldn't have homes, I should say. There, you soon realize that they're a group of nuns, and behind them is an orphanage. A few children peeking through the windows as they try to comprehend what is going on and why they are screaming. Having had enough of the fight, you return to the queen's castle. But just when you thought you escaped the circulating arguments about the queen, you hear a few whispers from nobles along the hallway. The queen is nothing but a fraud. She is nothing but a selfish bitch. She is doing nothing but bringing misery to the people around her. She doesn't fit to be a noble. But that's pretty odd, isn't it? They're the same group of nobles who the queen helped and tried to stop a war from raging. Why are they talking about her? Is there something you aren't aware of about the queen? Or are they doing it out of pure hatred? He opened his eyes, the light still absent within his blue orbs as he focuses his gaze on your own. He leans a bit back, his form straight and firm. Now, here's where you come in, Lion. Which side do you believe in? The queen who has been nothing but kind to you? Or the rumors circulating around her of being a neglectful noble, a selfish woman, a tyrant? He says the word tyrant with so much venom, he spat it out like poison in his teeth. You thought long and hard on this little scenario, multiple thoughts swirling in your head. This all seems so complicated. Take your time. It's fine for you not to respond. Just tell me. But I would love to hear your answer, Lion. Oh boy. We'll believe the queen. 14. I believe in the queen. You do? I do. Even if rumors say that she's a bad person. Even if she's the cause of so many people suffering under her reign. That's the loophole. It's just baseless rumors. If I want the truth, isn't it better to ask straight from the queen? If she is aware that she's causing people much suffering, then I'd rather take it, knowing that she was aware and proceeds to be honest with me rather than lie to me. For a moment, Crowe went silent, his hands nestled on his lap. You couldn't see them, but you took notice of the way his shoulders trembled, his eyes gleaming. Is he about to cry? Oh God, I didn't mean to. Crowe, I'm so... You're too trusting. You know that, Lion. That could attract potential danger. What? I just did what you told me to do, and that's answering your scenario. His playful demeanor came back quick, as if he did not just make up the most gut-wrenching scenario known to man. He laughs, holding his chest as he wipes a stray tear away from the corner of his eye. What was the sudden scenario question for anyway? I just thought it would be a good idea from my paper. Am I right? You have to admit, it was a good idea, and can probably entertain your teacher for quite a bit. I can't believe you let me go through that brain exercise just for this silly paper of ours. Well, better get to writing, Lion. We're almost running out of time. What? But how about you? Your paper's still blank. If I could make up that Silly scenario. Then I can absolutely make up another one on a whim. Plus, your response is enough to fill in my little writer's block, so I'd like to thank you for helping me. Ugh, you're so good when it comes to writing stories, Crowe. You should be a writer. I'll think about your suggestion. Stretching out your arms, letting out a sigh of relief, looking at your paper that you've made as you skim through it one last time. You were too caught up in the conversation with Crowe. You nearly forgot about the worn book you brought along. You picked it up and started flipping through the first pages. Torture devices. Execution devices. Why the fuck are you reading this again? You turn to another page, and on it is a sketch of a tall and bulk man. Half of his face is covered by his hood, while a large axe is settled behind him. His arms are filled with scars, while around his neck is a chained collar. He looks like those killers you often see in slasher films. Underneath the illustration, it reads, "The Executioner." Some executioners were feared by the public, while the rest respected them. But mostly, people shunned them for their field of work. The old times sure were brutal. You mutter under your breath. Closing the book, you then stacked it on top of the other books you and Crowe borrowed. Handing out your paper to Crowe, he gladly accepts it and stacks it on top with his own paper. Shall we head back? You nod along after you finish stacking the books you borrowed for the librarian or her assistants to get. I can't wait for the day to end. Same here. Crowe chuckles as you and him left the library. The day eventually came to an end. Few rays of the sunlight shine through the hallways as you and Crowe walk through the hallway. Do you have anything else to do today, Lion? Well, I have to do some quick grocery shopping before I go home. Ah, well in that case, would you mind me accompanying you? Really? It's fine if you don't, if you have other things to do. Like, look for Brittany and the others. Not really. Besides, Daryl has after-class practice, same with Gio. As for Brittany and Jess, they're catching up on their business proposal. But don't you also need to catch up? I can do them tomorrow. I'd like to spend the rest of the day with you, Lion. Your voice got caught up in your throat. You can feel your face heating up. Stupid Crowe. Stupid feelings. Alright then. Crowe lets out a small cheer, kind of like a mini jump from that game with an Italian plumber. It made you giggle a bit. Without wasting much time, you and Crowe head out of the school campus. The sun slowly sets in the horizon after you and Crowe finished up buying some groceries. Crowe offered to carry your bags and walk you home all the way back to your apartment, just like the day before. We should do this every day. But don't you live on the other side of the city? Nothing wrong with that. Plus, my place isn't that far from the school anyway, so walking to your apartment and back is nothing to me. Don't tell me you're the kind of person who would travel from one city to another while saying it's walkable. Crowe laughs, shrugging his shoulders as if saying maybe. I love walking, especially during the night, and most especially when the stars are out. I kind of agree with that. You stare at him up and down, your eyes often lingering on his hand. The temptation of holding it was gnawing at you, making you fidgety. This doesn't come unnoticed by Crowe, as he gradually slowed down until he came to a stop, setting down the groceries. You stopped as well, raising a brow in concern as he looked at you with keen eyes. Do you feel cold, Lion? No. What makes you think of that? Without much of a warning, he takes both of your cold hands cupping them in between his large ones as he begins to blow on them. His warm breath easing your cold fingertips. Your hands are now warm, but they couldn't compare to the heat of your face reaching to the tips of your ears. You keep shivering, so I thought I could warm you up a bit. I'm sorry I don't have a jacket, and I doubt my vest could do much to help. It's alright, Crowe. You don't need to. Your face is all red. Are you cold? Do you want to hold my hand during our walk? Well, I think he's gonna survive this time. Yeah, I think he can make it probably. You hang your head down, too flustered to utter a single word. Your request got caught in your throat as your shyness overwhelmed you. Rather, you stared at Crowe's large hands wrapped around yours, not pulling away nor protesting against it. Crowe noticed your averted gaze, your shy demeanor causing his lips to quirk up in a gentle smile. He almost chuckled when he realized how your eyes fixated on your joined hands. Feeling his right hand, Crowe picks the groceries back up, his left hand closed around yours, holding it firmly, but gently. You swear he gave you a little squeeze as he tugs you along, continuing on with your walk. Drip. Drop. That's odd. Something the matter. I kind of feel something dripping on me. Oh, fuck. What seemed to be a soft drizzle suddenly turned into a wild downpour. You and Crowe made a run for it, trying your best to keep yourselves dry as Crowe shielded your groceries from getting wet. Thankfully, the sight of your apartment complex came to view from a few feet away. A relieved sigh escapes past your lips. You turn to Crowe, who was doing everything he could to keep your bag dry, not even caring about the droplets of rain rolling down his cheek and his damp hair that clung to his face. Just a few more steps, Crowe. We're almost there. You ran up the road, hearing Crowe's heavy footsteps following behind you. All of a sudden, Crowe stops. His head turned to the bushes, his eyes growing wide as he opened his mouth in a near gasp. Crowe? What's wrong? Oh, one sec. Let's get these groceries and you to a cover. Huh? Crowe hastily shoves your semi-damp plastic bag towards you, your arms suddenly carrying the weight of your groceries. You blinked a few times in confusion. Crowe, whoa! Without much warning, Crowe lifts you off the ground. With one of his arms wrapped around your shoulders and the other under your knees, he hoists you up. The shock from your feet leaving the pavement floor caused you to shriek as you clung around Crowe's neck, feeling his damp body pressed against yours. Jericho, what on earth? Crowe runs up to your apartment, carrying you like your weight meant nothing to his arms. He seemed distracted, your protests going unheard. Once he makes it to your doorstep, he sets you down before turning around and running back the way he came. Get inside the apartment. I'll be right back. You gripped your grocery bag tight as you stared at his figure, your heart drumming quite loudly within your chest. Did he just pick me up and carry me all the way to my apartment that easily? He barely even grunted. For someone so lean, you never expected him to actually lift you like a sack of feathers. You start wondering if he works out. You were too dazed, head afloat from what just occurred, to realize that Crowe finally came back. You gasped as you took in his entire body, now awfully drenched from head to toe, his hair dripping with water. His shoes sloshed as he walked, and his wet clothes clung to his skin. You noticed his vest missing, then you spotted in his arms, wrapped around something. A sound came from the bundle that he carried in his arms, causing you to snap out of your thoughts. Did I just hear his vest meow? Let's get inside before we get any colder. Once you and Crowe made it inside your apartment, the first thing you did was grab 3 different towels. One for you, one for Crowe, and one for your new little friend. I couldn't bear to leave him in the cold rain. Poor guy must have gotten abandoned by its mother. Wrapped in the small towel is a tiny black kitten. You know, we should be thankful that my landlord wasn't at his usual desk, right? Pets aren't allowed here. Other than that... Crowe paused a bit, understanding where you're coming from. A low chuckle left his lips, scratching his wet cheek. He probably won't appreciate the puddle we made on his doorstep. Precisely. You both let out a small, awkward laugh, hoping that you wouldn't get caught the following day by the cameras around. Shoving the thought aside, you and Crowe stare at the kitten now wrapped within the towel, its beady eyes seemingly staring at both of you before breaking into mews and meows. You can feel your heart melt, and so did Crowe's. I'll take care of this little guy for now, and you should probably dry up, Crowe. Is that okay? I didn't expect to actually end up staying in your place. I won't be long, though. I'll get out of your hair as soon as I dry up. I honestly don't mind you staying a bit longer. It's not a problem. I don't want you to catch a cold because of me. Well, we'll take turns then. After I dry up, I'll take care of the kitten next. Let me get you something to change. There's really no need for... Not giving him a chance to protest, you quickly head out to your bedroom. Rummaging through your drawers and cabinets, you try to find something that could fit Crowe. Then you remembered the oversized shirt you received during the last sports day. You never understood as to why everyone needed to buy that shirt. But when you got yours, they ran out of your own size, and you had no choice but to accept the shirt that was 1 size bigger than yours. Taking it out of the drawer, you make your way back. You head back to the living room, seeing Crowe, who remained still in his spot. His shirt had partly dried, and he had taken the kitten into his arms. The little creature was snugly wrapped in its warm blanket, reminding you of a burrito. The sight of Crowe gently holding the kitten pierced a soft spot in your heart. The view was to die for, and you would have spent a few more seconds admiring it had you not noticed Crowe's shoulders shaking from the cold. You're shivering. Nothing I can't handle. Lies. The cat is doing a better job at getting warm than you. You teasingly roll your eyes at Crowe as you shove the shirt and another fresh towel in his direction. He chuckles, forced to give up the kitten to you as he accepts the change of clothes. Carrying the kitten in your arms, you led Crowe to your bathroom, and he thanks you before stepping in and closing the door behind him. Hearing the tweak of the valve and the familiar sound of the shower running, you remember how Crowe shivered all the way to the bathroom. You turn your heater up a bit before settling back down on the couch. You return your attention to the kitchen, its fur now dry thanks to you and Crowe. The small feline looks up at you and meows, its little beady eyes staring up at yours. You put a finger on its head, petting it gently. You must be hungry, little guy. You're lucky I went out grocery shopping. Scooping the tiny kitten in your arms, you make your way towards your kitchen. Setting the kitten down on the counter, you rummage through your fridge and cupboards for a clean bowl. You pick up your grocery bag from the floor, placing it on the kitchen table as you looked for the almond milk you remember getting. Heating the milk just warm enough, you observe the kitten as it breaks free from its warm confinement and looks around. The cat shivering in fear and caution of the unknown territory, yet remaining curious enough to look around. Setting the warm bowl of milk in front of the cat, you grab the chair, patiently waiting as it creeps closer to the bowl. It takes one lap of the milk, then another, then one more before it happily drinks up. A warm smile makes its way to your face. Seems you've got yourself all settled in. You hear Crowe's slightly amused voice, and you turn around to face him. You momentarily stop at the sight of him standing there, wearing the fresh shirt you handed him with a towel around his neck. Now, out of his usual braids, his hair was let loose, a few droplets dripping from the semi-dry strands. Thank you for letting me use your bathroom, Lion. You don't mind me hanging my vest, right? I don't mind. In fact, I can just hand your stuff to you tomorrow if you'd like. Crowe didn't answer you as he pointed his gaze downwards, dipping his head in an attempt to conceal the slight tint of pink brushing along his cheeks. He rubs his arm, a hint of embarrassment in his voice. Sorry, I didn't think I would end up staying here a bit, but I'm thankful either way. Also, isn't this the first time I've been to your apartment? You've got a nice place. Oh crap, he's actually right. You never really got any visitors, save for your father and your landlord. Other than that, you have never had anyone in here until now. And it's Crowe too. Just you two. Alone. I'm probably talking too much. You should get changed too. Crowe's voice snaps you out of your thoughts, and you look up to realize that he had already picked the kitten up from the counter. Crowe holds it in his arms, the feline faintly purring as it snuggles close to his chest, relishing in his warmth. Never thought you'd see the day you'd be jealous over a cat, but here we are. Getting up from your chair, you accompany Crowe back into the living room before going to change as well. The sound of the shower head running fills your ears as you look down on your bathroom's white tiles, observing the water run down towards the sinkhole. The water's heater helped you warm up a bit, but you couldn't help the thoughts running through your mind. Thoughts that were mostly consumed by Crowe and the cat. Who is going to keep it? I missed some dialogue here. Who is going to keep it? Why did he save it? And most importantly, how long is he planning to stay here? You look up, seeing his soaked vest and polo hanging on one of the bathroom railings. You should probably throw that in the dryer along with yours after. You let out a sigh, not wanting to waste any more water, and probably spend the next 30 minutes contemplating your life in the shower. You got out, dried yourself, and got yourself dressed. You returned to the living room, finding that Crowe had made himself comfortable on your couch, with the cat happily settled in his lap as he gives it a few pets. Sensing your presence, Crowe lifts his head, and his eyes perk upon landing on your figure. Welcome back. The cat's starting to relax. It's almost as if it belongs in this place. He chuckles. You made your way to him, and you sink in the couch right by his side. You gaze at the cat curled up in his lap and purring away in content. You bit your bottom lip. Cat 2, Lion 0. Have you thought of a name yet? Actually, no. I'm never really good with names. How about you? Have you thought of a name for it? He tilts his head to the side, awaiting your answer to his inquiry. I'll name the cat. Wasn't this higher before? No, I think it was 16 the whole time. Alright, we are going to name the cat. What shall I name the cat? Remember the name of the other cat? With our good old friend Michael, who wants to keep us in that forest? We haven't found our damn cat yet, so we'll just name this cat that cat. Hello, Shishi. Crowe smiles, his lips slightly turned upwards. Okay, that didn't change the scale. He picks up the cat, and your little furry friend looks at him, then to you, and finally to its surroundings, before it decided it had enough of Crowe suspending it midair. It wriggled, protesting for Crowe to put it back down. I think Shishi is a wonderful name, Lion. I knew I could count on you for naming it. Anyway, do you want something to eat? I can heat up some Hot Pockets we bought. That would be wonderful. The sun had set beyond the horizon hours ago, and you could see the sky painted black from your window. With the rain still pouring just as hard as before, Crowe decides to stay a little longer to enjoy your company. The kitten sleeps soundly on a nearby makeshift bed that you made together with Crowe. You sit beside him on the couch, the living room dimly lit, with nothing but the television running what seems to be a slasher film. Okay, hear me out. Why did they have to make the serial killer so hot in this movie? Excuse me? I mean, look at him. He is clearly a pretty boy, with that blonde hair and charming smile. But that makes sense, right? Especially with this killer in the movie. Cunning and charming, he's a good manipulator, having to entice people so that he can kill them in the end. Throws the detective off, right? I guess that makes sense. They did a good job casting whoever the killer is. He's pretty good. You know the actor? No. How about you? Surprised you don't know him. He's one of the best multi-talented idols in Titus City. You cast your eyes back to the screen, and you're greeted by the serial killer's actor. Golden hair dyed with pink tips, rose-pink eyes that shone brightly, and a smile that was so alluring and magnetic, it was hard to tear your gaze away. He almost looks like an actual angel. He's known as Ares. Besides being an actor, he's also a singer and a model. Wow, sounds like a big shot. He's also Jess's favorite actor. Did you know? Jess owns the biggest fan page for this guy, and has been recognized by him and many fans. Really? That's quite an achievement. I agree. With a face card like that, how could anyone not fall for him? Don't tell me he's your type. Nonsense, 'cause he sounds like the other guy in this story that is pretty and alluring and will kill people, conveniently also a slasher. So, nonsense. And that boosted us up a bit. No, yeah, sure, he's handsome, but he's not really my type. For a second, Crowe's eyes flickered with hope before disappearing. Instead, a smile is plastered on his face. That's good. Huh? Nothing. The room fell silent afterwards, with neither of you uttering a word. As the television becomes background noise, you unconsciously fiddle with your fingers. You found it difficult to focus on the movie as you start feeling conscious of the male beside you. From your peripheral vision, you try to discreetly check up on Crowe, only to realize that his whole attention was already on you. Your heartbeat races. Hey, Lion, if given the chance, if you could have anything in the world, what would it be? Another one of your little trivia questions, Crowe? You laugh lightheartedly, attempting to ease the atmosphere. Yet Crowe did not seem to be on board, so you shut yourself up quickly. You bit your lips as you felt Crowe leaning in close to your face, his breath brushing against your cheek. The movie becomes a muffled and incoherent noise as the rapid beating of your heart floods your eardrums. Why don't you answer first? He chuckles lowly, sending a shiver down your spine. Crowe surprises you when he rests his head on your shoulder, the intimate gesture making your heart stop. Before you could say anything else, he buries his face on the crook of your neck, making you freeze. You prayed he wouldn't hear just how loudly your heart is beating. Dodging the question this time, huh? Well, if I were to have anything in the world, I'd love to have more time. More time to be with you. More time to spend with you. Kind of selfish of me, huh? At this point, you aren't sure if he's talking to you or with himself. You glance at Crowe from the corner of your eye, noticing his downcast gaze. He smiled at himself, but all you could see was that desperate expression he failed to suppress. You did not dare ask what was wrong. At a loss for words, you chose to remain silent. You stayed in that position with Crowe for what felt like a minute, the hurt on his beautiful face replaying in your head. You swallowed and lifted a hand, gently placing in on the back of his head. You relaxed when you felt Crowe ease up on your touch. Taking that as a sign, you proceed to stroke his hair, brushing along his now soft and dry locks between your fingers. I should probably get going. Already? He pulls away and looks at you straight in the eyes. Multiple swirls of emotions fill his dull orbs. Drowsiness, uncertainty, longing. With one last exhale, Crowe finally gets off of you and stands up, a few groans escaping his lips as he stretches his limbs. With his hands on his hips, he gives you a smile. You couldn't shake off the feeling that it was done just to reassure you. The rain is slowing down a bit, plus it's getting quite late. I haven't contacted my relatives yet, so they might be really worried by now. Are you sure you don't want to stay the night? You want to say it so bad, you really, really want to, but you couldn't. You shouldn't. You clench the fabric of your shirt above where your painfully beating heart lies. You're probably right. Let me get you your clothes from the dryer. I'll see you out. Thank you, Lion. You're the best of the best. Are you sure you'll be fine, Crowe? I already called my driver. I'll probably get an earful from him, but that's alright. They're probably going to question me about Shishi, but I'll think of an excuse. I'm sorry I couldn't keep him with me, Crowe. No, it's alright. In fact, I already know who would be the perfect cat owner for them. With the kitten cradled in his arms, Crowe did a mock-up face of a grumpy person exaggerating his expression with his cheeks puffed and shoulders raised. You could only make a wild guess on the mysterious identity. It was a shame that your apartment had a no pets policy, and the fact that you know absolutely no one who could take care of the kitten. After talking it out with Crowe, he decided to take the kitten with him. Thankfully, you had a few spare boxes lying around, and you gave one for Crowe to place the kitten in. Today's been fun, Crowe. His brows raised in mild surprise, then a soft smile painted his features. With his dominant hand, he ruffles the top of your head, messing your hair a bit and earning him a chuckle. Hey now. I had fun too, Lion. See you tomorrow? Yeah, see you tomorrow. You moved to close the door, but stopped by the sudden sensation of something soft landing on your forehead. Your eyes travel up, realizing that Crowe had just given you a tender kiss near your brow. While your face heated up, your brain short-circuited at the feeling of his soft lips lingering on your skin. Good night, Lion. He gives you a final wave, Shishi peeking out of his box to give you one last look, as if bidding you goodbye before you finally closed your door. That tease. She's finally back, huh? Come on, Shishi. Let's go home. To be continued. Who is she? Many questions. I guess we'll find out some more answers in day 3, but we'll also find out more answers as I play through the rest of this update. This has been bigger. I'm gonna have to cut this here. Actually, I've been playing this over the course of a few days, and as I'm talking right now, I'm at over 4.5 hours of audio. So this is gonna be kind of fun to edit, I suppose you could say. Sorry everybody for taking so long. This has been a busy week, and I honestly did not think that this update was going to be so huge. I mean, not only did I have to replay through the first 2 days, there was also new content. We got the bad ending. We got this other ending. There was just a lot that was going on. Let's see, what all like CGs have we gotten so far? Where am I at? Album. So Soul, obviously, we're not going to have a lot because we didn't really interact with him this playthrough. For others, we definitely, it makes sense that we have a few missing. There are some dialogue options that I did not choose. Crowe, we got quite a handful. Wonder if I missed any. Did I get them all? Seems like I've gotten maybe all of them. I know there were some dialogue options. Oh, okay, never mind. I was going to say, because I know there were some dialogue options I did not choose. So, there's definitely some paths I still have to take. Especially now with this, like, affection meter, if you will. I'm not sure. I mean, there's probably some more CGs, even if I, go the soul route, if you will. Which, I'm going to remind you all, I told y'all that this guy right here was fucking nuts. But so many of you were saying, oh yeah, we gotta go romance soul, because that's the guy, this guy right here. And I've been saying this whole time, Crowe is probably a better match. And the moment Crowe becomes romanceable, well, need I say more? Especially knowing goddamn well that I'm gonna be making out with this dude soon too. So, it is what it is. there are still some like grammatical and spelling mistakes in this game that definitely throw me off as I'm reading it. So I'm hoping that that gets fixed up in the near future, especially now seeing that the story is kind of being revamped from scratch in a sense. We've learned a lot more, and since the beginning, the entire path that we took through the 2 days, it was totally different. Even going through similar dialogue options, there was just so much more additional content that I was just not ready for. And now we're just looking at, quite frankly, this is more than an update. This is like a new game almost, considering the new functionality with the scoring and all the different paths you can get. So we'll see what happens in day 3, or future updates, I should say. Heck, I didn't even think it was coming this soon. I thought it would come next year. But hey, if you did like this video, go ahead and leave it a like, leave a comment, perhaps even subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you all in the next video. So have a good night.